Chapter 6:18. Wu Ketian saw that he had caught up with Li Mingshan. Just as he was about to throw a punch, he suddenly saw a white light flash in front of him, and a chill hit him. Wu Ketian was shocked. He wanted to dodge, but the momentum was too fast. There was no way to dodge. He could only open his eyes and stare at the saber light, trying to find a flaw in the saber light. The saber light was getting closer and closer. Wu Ketian could already see the saber edge. He hurriedly threw a punch with his right fist towards the saber light's flaw. Li Mingshan's saber was not that easy to stop. Plus, it was a sneak attack. The saber light was as fast as lightning. Although Wu Ketian's fist hit the saber surface, the saber also hit his shoulder. Ah! Wu Ketian screamed. He fiercely twisted his body to the side to avoid the saber edge. But even so, his shoulder was cut by the saber edge. Wu Ketian saw this and knew that it was not good. He ignored the wound on his shoulder and hurriedly retreated. Li Mingshan, who had escaped the crisis, saw Wu Ketian was about to retreat. He hurriedly shouted, "Chase him! Don't let him escape!" In fact, even if Li Mingshan did not shout, Li Mingshan did not plan to let Wu Ketian go. Li Mingshan's saber was successful. He directly swung his saber and chased Wu Ketian from bottom to top. Wu Ketian had not yet stood firm when Li Mingshan's saber came from bottom to top. Wu Ketian wanted to dodge again, but before he could exert any strength, Li Mingshan's saber hit his leg again. Wu Ketian endured the pain and fiercely kicked the ground with one leg. His whole body jumped back in the air. Li Mingshan naturally would not let him go. Seeing that Wu Ketian was about to escape, he suddenly jumped up from the ground and chased Wu Ketian with his saber. Wu Ketian jumped back while Li Mingshan chased forward. Naturally, his speed was not as fast as Li Mingshan. Just as Wu Ketian was about to land, Li Mingshan's saber came again. Wu Ketian was in the air and had no place to borrow strength. He could only watch as Li Mingshan's saber cut his left arm. Ah! Wu Ketian's arm was cut by Li Mingshan. He suddenly let out an earth-shattering scream because his arm was cut off by Li Mingshan. Wu Ketian was in so much pain that his vision turned black. He screamed and fell to the ground. Li Mingshui sneered. He followed Wu Ketian and landed on the ground. Once again, he swung his sword at Wu Ketian. Seeing Li Mingshui's blade coming towards him, Wu Ketian was scared out of his wits. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. He could only watch as Li Mingshui's blade came closer and closer. Ah! Just as Wu Ketian was in despair, Li Mingshui's figure suddenly flew up into the air and fell far away while screaming. The one who hit Li Mingshui was Wu Kedi, whose waist was injured. Wu Ketian saw that Wu Ketian was about to be killed by Li Mingshui, so he ignored the injury on his waist and attacked with all his strength when Li Mingshui wasn't paying attention. Li Mingshui screamed as he fell to the ground and stopped moving. When Wu Ketian saw that Li Mingshui had been beaten away, he immediately grabbed his broken arm tightly. He didn't care about treating his wound and quickly ran towards Wu Ketian. "Wu Kedi, how are you?" When Wu Ketian arrived in front of Wu Kedi, he found that Wu Kedi had fainted. Seeing this scene, Wu Ketian flew into a rage. He tore off a piece of cloth from his body and used all his strength to bandage his arm. Then, he immediately rushed towards Li Mingshui. "Li Mingshui, I'm going to kill you." When Wu Ketian arrived not far away from Li Mingshui, he saw Li Mingshui holding his arm and came to Li Mingshui's side first. "Wu Ketian, come on. It's time for us to settle our accounts." Seeing Li Shan, the anger in Wu Ketian's heart burned even more. He fiercely roared and swung his fist towards Li Shan. Li Mingshan sneered. He immediately pulled out his sword and blocked in front of him. When Wu Kedi rushed over, he suddenly roared. The sword in his hand turned into a white light and slashed towards Wu Ketian. When Wu Ketian saw this, although he was angry, he didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly moved to the left and dodged Li Mingshan's sword. Then, He jumped up and punched towards Li Mingshan's head. Li Shan took 2 steps back and swung the saber in his hand. From bottom to top, he chopped towards Wu Ketian's back. Wu Ketian saw that his fist had missed, but he did a somersault in the air and kicked Li Shan with his leg. When Li Mingshan saw this, he knew that it was too late to use his sword. He could only move to the left and dodge Wu Ketian's attack. Although Li Mingshan retreated, Wu Ketian didn't dare to relax. Li Mingshan used a sword, while Wu Ketian used his fists. If the two of them pulled apart, Wu Ketian would be in a situation where he couldn't fight back. Wu Ketian naturally understood this. He saw Li Mingshan retreat to the side. When he landed on the ground, he quickly chased after Li Mingshan. Li Mingshan wanted to pull apart some distance to use his sword skills, but Wu Ketian understood the danger. Naturally, he wouldn't give Li Mingshan this opportunity. When Li Mingshan saw Wu Ketian chasing him, he hurriedly retreated again. At the same time, he pulled back his sword. When Wu Ketian saw Li Mingshan retreating and was about to pull back his sword, he hurriedly waved his arm and smashed towards Li Mingshan's arm. When Li Mingshan saw this, it was too late for him to pull back his sword. He hurriedly clenched his teeth and raised his arm towards Wu Ketian's arm. Ah! When their arms collided, they both screamed at the same time. Li Mingshan's sword also flew far away because of the impact. Wu Ketian was shocked by the impact. Then, as soon as he stabilized his body, he punched towards Li Mingshan again. Li Mingshan retreated 2 steps. Since he didn't have a sword in his hand, he could only punch back. When their fists were about to collide, Wu Ketian smiled coldly. He suddenly turned his wrist and slid past Li Mingshan's fist. As soon as his hand slid past Li Mingshan's palm, he suddenly turned his hand and grabbed Li Mingshan's wrist. When Li Mingshan's wrist was grabbed by Wu Ketian, he immediately felt a burst of torque from his wrist. He immediately knew that something was wrong. Subconsciously, his whole body was turned over by the torque. Wu Ketian saw this and was suddenly overjoyed. He hurriedly waved his other fist and smashed it towards Li Mingshan. Unfortunately, when Wu Ketian just raised his fist, a burst of pain came from his arm. It was so painful that his vision turned black. Even his hand that grabbed Li Mingshan's wrist involuntarily loosened. Li Mingshan felt that Wu Ketian's wrist was loosened. He was suddenly overjoyed. He hurriedly jumped forward and broke free from Wu Ketian's grip. Wu Ketian felt that Li Mingshan's wrist was loosened. He suddenly felt that something was wrong. He hurriedly reached out to grab it again, but Li Mingshan had already jumped far away. It was impossible to catch him again. Chapter 6:19. Seeing that the opportunity had been lost, Wu Ketian had no choice but to stop. He grabbed his arm and eased it a little, but his eyes were fixed on Li Mingshan's movements. Li Shan broke free from Wu Ketian's arm. He thought that it was a close call. He rushed forward a few steps and immediately turned around. Seeing that Wu Ketian did not chase him, Li Shan was a little relieved. Seeing Wu Ketian's injured arm, his heart was suddenly overjoyed. Wu Ketian had already lost an arm, and Li Shan's arm was also broken. Their injuries were basically the same. No one had an advantage. The two stood opposite each other, gasping for breath. At the same time, they stared at each other for fear of a sneak attack. Li Shan gasped for breath for a long time before he slowly recovered. Looking at Wu Ketian in front of him, he suddenly began to slowly move. Wu Ketian saw this and suddenly sneered. Li Shan, do you want to get your saber? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan immediately stopped and lightly said, Wu Ketian, I tell you, even if I don't have my saber, you are still not my opponent. When Wu Ketian heard this, he suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed. After laughing, he said coldly, Li Shan, if my arm wasn't injured, I'm afraid you would have been killed by me. What are you still bragging about? Li Shan shook his head. Wu Ketian, I was careless. Now I'll let you see my power. While speaking, Li Shan suddenly rushed toward Wu Ketian. Wu Ketian saw this and was suddenly shocked. He quickly took a stance and wanted to replace Li Shan. Li Shan rushed forward 2 steps and suddenly stomped on the ground. His whole body bounced from the ground and rushed toward the saber. Wu Ketian saw this and knew that he was tricked by Li Shan. He immediately roared and chased after Li Shan. Li Shan was not far from the saber on the ground. Before Wu Ketian arrived, he had already picked up the saber on the ground and blocked in front of him. Wu Ketian saw this and hurriedly stopped and shouted, "Li Shan, you are so cunning." Li Shan shook his head. "It's a matter of life and death. I have to use a little trick." At this point, Li Shan's tone paused. He turned his head and looked around. Suddenly, he sighed and said with some loneliness, "Wu Ketian, let's not fight anymore. For this promissory note, both of us have already suffered. If we continue to fight, I'm afraid that neither of us will be able to get this promissory note." After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian sneered, "Li Shan, now that the IOU is in your hands, of course you can say it nicely. If the IOU was in my hands, I would say the same thing." Li Shan smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Wu Ketian, since it's like this, I don't want to fight with you anymore. Let's split this agreement in half. When we go to the Tiangongmen to ask for equipment, we'll go together. What do you think?" After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian frowned and asked with some doubt, "Li Shan, why are you so kind? Are you trying to play some tricks again?" Li Shan shook his head and reached out to take out the promissory note. He said bitterly, "For these pieces of equipment, we've already paid too much. I don't want to fight anymore." At this point, Li Shan's tone paused for a moment. But then, without waiting for Wu Ketian to answer, he continued, "Wu Ketian, there are still a lot of things waiting for us to deal with. Let's split the blueprints now. After dealing with the things here, we'll immediately go to the Tiangongmen to ask for the equipment. What do you think?" For this blueprint, both sides had been fighting for so long. Li Shan also understood. Unless he could kill Wu Ketian and the others, he would not be able to safely obtain the equipment. But to kill Wu Ketian was easier said than done. Li Shan was seriously injured and one of his arms was broken. His strength was directly reduced by half. Although one of Wu Ketian's arms was crippled, with Li Shan's current martial arts, it would not be easy to kill Wu Ketian. Just like before, Li Shan was scared. If it wasn't for his good luck and breaking free from Wu Ketian's arm, then the person who would have been killed would have been him. If Wu Ketian ran away, he would definitely not be satisfied and would definitely tell others about what happened here. At that time, as long as Wu Ketian pushed the blame to him, not only would he not be able to get the equipment, he would also be hunted down by the Tiangongmen. There was also another problem. If he took this promissory note to the Tiangongmen to ask for the equipment, if it was just him, then there would be some people who would not be able to do it alone. But if Wu Ketian and the others were added, then the pressure on the Tiangongmen would increase by a lot. Although doing this would reduce his equipment by half, Li Shan had thought it through. Even if he only got half of the equipment, it would be much better than not getting any at all. More importantly, there were still Shui Lingzi and the people from Kikiamen waiting to be dealt with. After Wu Ketian heard Li Shan's words, he was even more puzzled and asked, "Li Shan, are you really willing to give me half of the equipment?" Li Shan sighed and raised the promissory note in front of him. Just as he was about to reach out and tear it in half, he suddenly felt a pain in his arm. Only then did he remember that he only had one arm left. Li Shan turned to look at Wu Ketian and said with a bitter smile, "Wu Ketian, come over here. Let's tear this promissory note and split it in half. What do you think?" After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian was overjoyed. Just as he was about to go forward and take the promissory note, his heart suddenly moved. He stared at the knife in Li Shan's hand and whispered, Li Shan, are you trying to trick me so that you can sneak attack me? After hearing this, Li Shan remembered that he still had a knife in his hand. Li Shan pondered for a moment and then calmly threw the knife in his hand far away. He then smiled and said, Wu Ketian, let's not fight anymore. It won't be good for either of us. After saying this, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing, we'll split this promissory note. Although each of us can only get 3 level 20 equipment, this is already very good. It's better than nothing. Wu Ketian, don't worry, I definitely won't attack you again. Seeing Li Shan throw the knife in his hand so far away, Wu Ketian was slightly relieved. He carefully looked at Li Shan and then slowly walked towards him. Li Shan saw Wu Ketian in front of him and raised the promissory note in his hand. He smiled and said, Wu Ketian, come, let's tear this promissory note. We'll each keep half of it. Now you can rest assured. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian looked at the promissory note and nodded, but didn't say anything. Chapter 620. Seeing that Wu Ketian did not come over, Li Shan said with a wry smile, Wu Ketian, even now, do you still not believe me? Hearing this, Wu Ketian turned his head and looked around, then looked at his broken arm and sighed, Li Shan, even now, do I still dare to believe you? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan suddenly extended the IOU in his hand to Wu Ketian and said loudly, Wu Ketian, come on, hold your own corner, let's tear this IOU. When the time comes, each of us will hold half of the IOU. Even if we go to the Tiangongmen to ask for equipment, we will need both of our IOUs together. Now you believe me. Hearing this, Wu Ketian clenched his teeth and slowly raised his hand. While carefully watching Li Shan's movements, he extended his hand to the IOU. Seeing this, Li Shan said with a smile, Wu Ketian, you can rest assured that I will not do anything to you. You just need to tear this IOU. Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian looked at the IOU in his hand. His eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of coldness. When his hand was about to grab the IOU, he suddenly changed direction and punched Li Shan. This time, Li Shan really wanted to reconcile. He really did not want to fight anymore, so he did not have any defense. When Li Shan woke up, he looked at Wu Ketian's fist. It was too late for him to dodge. He could only curse and watch Wu Ketian's fist hit his body. Ah! After being hit by Wu Ketian's fist, Li Shan suddenly let out a mournful scream. His whole body was like a broken kite, flying high into the air. After Wu Ketian's fist hit Li Shan, his eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. He did not immediately pursue. Wu Ketian could feel that although his punch was a sneak attack, if Li Shan had been prepared, he would not have succeeded so easily. Could it be that Li Shan really did not play any tricks and really wanted to reconcile with him? Looking at Li Shan on the ground, Wu Ketian hesitated for a moment before withdrawing his fist and slowly walking towards Li Shan. Wu Ketian's punch was not light. Li Shan was lying on the ground, feeling extreme pain all over his body. His vision turned black, but he endured it and did not immediately faint. However, he only held on for a moment before he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Wu Ketian slowly walked in front of Li Shan. Looking at his miserable appearance, he was stunned for a long time before suddenly speaking. Li Shan, do you really want to reconcile? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan wanted to answer, but he suddenly felt a burst of discomfort in his throat. He couldn't help but spit out another mouthful of blood. Li Shan endured the pain in his body, calmed down for a while, and then gasped for breath. Wu Ketian, why don't you believe me? We can't keep fighting. At this point, Li Shan smiled bitterly and continued. Wu Ketian, since yesterday, we have been fighting. You also saw that for these few pieces of equipment, our people have suffered heavy losses. Now, only you and I are left. If we keep fighting, both sides will suffer heavy losses. At that time, even if we have this agreement, what can we do? At this point, Li Shan took a few more breaths before continuing. Wu Ketian, if we keep fighting until both sides suffer heavy injuries, what if an outsider comes? Then wouldn't we have made a wedding dress for them? If we divide this agreement, each of us can get at least 3 pieces of level 20 equipment. But if we keep fighting, I'm afraid we won't even get these 3 pieces of level 20 equipment. Wu Ketian, think about it. We can't keep fighting. If we keep fighting, none of us will get these equipment. Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian gradually sobered up. Looking at the heavily injured Li Shan and Wu Kedi, he secretly sighed in his heart. He slowly took the agreement from Li Shan's hand and looked at it in front of his eyes. Suddenly Wu Ketian's heart moved. Looking at the agreement in front of him, he suddenly had an idea. If he killed Li Shan and the others, then wouldn't this agreement belong to him? If he succeeded, then he would get 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. Wu Ketian thought about it in his heart, and his heart was moved. Even if it was only 1 piece of level 20 equipment, it would make many martial artists break their heads. Not to mention, this agreement represented 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. Thinking of this, Wu Ketian's heart suddenly sped up. Li Shan was already heavily injured and couldn't move. As for Li Shan, he was also seriously injured by his own punch. Just how powerful was that punch just now? Wu Ketian was very clear about it. Wu Ketian could guarantee that Li Shan would lose his ability to fight in a short period of time. If he took advantage of the time Li Shan lost his ability to fight and killed Li Shan and the unconscious Li Mingshui, then these 6 pieces of level 20 equipment would all belong to him. Thinking that he only needed 2 punches to kill Li Shan and Li Mingshui, then he could get these 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, Wu Ketian's breathing became rapid. Wu Ketian slowly moved his eyes away from the agreement and looked at the heavily injured Li Shan. Seeing Wu Ketian's cold eyes, Li Shan was suddenly shocked and hurriedly said, "Wu Ketian, what do you want to do?" Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian suddenly sneered, "Li Shan, you're right. We can't fight anymore, and we can't fight anymore because you're going to disappear soon. Naturally, you can't fight with me anymore." As Wu Ketian spoke, he slowly put down the agreement and slowly clenched his fist. The coldness in his eyes became thicker. Seeing this, Li Shan became anxious and hurriedly said, "Wu Ketian, you can't do this. I already said that we can't fight anymore. If we continue to fight, it won't do us any good." Wu Ketian slowly raised his fist and sneered, "Li Shan, we really can't fight anymore because you're going to be finished soon." Hearing Wu Ketian's cold words, Li Shan's eyes burned with anger and said loudly, "Wu Ketian, you can't do this. If I'm not here, do you think that you can get those equipment back by yourself?" Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian froze for a moment and then sneered. "Li Shan, do you think that if you're not here, I won't be able to get those equipment back?" Hearing this, Li Shan hurriedly shouted, "Wu Ketian, think about it. Shadowless has 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, and we also have 6 pieces of level 20 equipment." Chapter 621. Li Shan continued, "Wu Ketian, we have a total of 12 pieces of level 20 equipment. Do you really think the Tiangongmen will give us that much equipment?" At this point, Li Shan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Wu Ketian's reply and continued to speak. "No, I'm sure that no matter how rich the Tiangongmen are, they won't give us 12 pieces of level 20 equipment so easily. That's why we have to work together. It would be best if we can find Shadowless. Once we find him, we'll destroy his IOU. I think that if the Tiangongmen only give us 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, it shouldn't be a problem." Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian's heart skipped a beat. His fist stopped in midair as he pondered. He had to admit that Li Shan was right. Their IOU and Shadowless IOU added up to 12 pieces of level 20 equipment. The Tiangongmen definitely wouldn't give up such a huge amount. If Shadowless had arrived first, the two of them might not have been able to get their hands on the 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. If they went to find Shadowless, Wu Ketian honestly didn't have the confidence to deal with him. But if they didn't deal with Shadowless, then they might not be able to exchange their IOU for any equipment. Seeing Wu Ketian hesitate, Li Shan sighed. Wu Ketian, don't tell me you still don't understand? Even if each of us only gets 3 pieces of equipment, it's still better than getting nothing at all. Speaking up to this point, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. Wu Ketian, the only way to deal with Shadowless is if the two of us work together. Let's try to destroy Shadowless as soon as possible. Hearing this, Wu Ketian hesitated for a moment before slowly replying. But what if we can't find Shadowless? Li Shan shook his head. Even if we can't find Shadowless, if we go to the Tiangongmen to ask for equipment, we'll have more influence than Shadowless. I believe that even if the Tiangongmen want to exchange for equipment, they'll consider us first. Hearing Li Shan's explanation, Wu Ketian's expression finally changed. Li Shan, is what you said true? Li Shan sighed and bitterly smiled. Wu Ketian, I didn't make it clear enough. Only if the two of us work together can we obtain the equipment. If both of our sides suffer heavy losses, not only will it bring trouble to both of our sides, I'm afraid we won't be able to obtain the equipment. Hearing this, Wu Ketian finally made up his mind. He slowly pulled his hand back and sat weakly next to Li Shan. He picked up the IOU on the ground and looked at it. Li Mingshan, since that's the case, let's split this IOU. We'll each take half, so that no one will play trick. The two of them each had 1 good hand left, and they were barely able to split the contract into 2 halves. Wu Ketian looked at the half-written agreement in his hand. After a while, he turned his head to look at Li Mingshan and asked tentatively, Li Mingshan, what should we do next? Should we go look for Shadowless? Li Shan took a few deep breaths before sighing. He carefully folded the receipt and put it away. Then, he turned his head to look at Wu Ketian and asked with a sneer, Wu Ketian, do you think we should look for Shadowless first? Wu Ketian was stunned for a moment before he nodded. Of course. Didn't you say that we have to find Shadowless first and destroy the IOU before he goes to ask for the equipment? At this point, Wu Ketian's expression suddenly changed. He turned his head to look at Li Mingshan and sternly shouted, Li Shan, are you going back on your word? Are you trying to trick me? Li Shan shook his head and sighed. Wu Ketian, we already have too many troubles. I'm not in the mood to play tricks on you. I just want to solve these troubles first. Then, I'll go find Shadowless. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian's heart suddenly moved. He turned his head to look at Water Spirit and asked tentatively, Li Shan, the trouble you're talking about, is it Water Spirit and Fire Spirit? Li Shan nodded and coldly said, Other than Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, we can't let go of Kikiamin's people either. At this point, Li Mingshan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Wu Ketian to speak and continued to speak. We can't let go of Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. If we let them go, this matter will be known by others sooner or later. So, we can't let go of Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. We have to shut them up forever. Hearing Li Shan's cold words, Wu Ketian felt a chill in his heart. After a while, he asked tentatively, Li Shan, I know that we can't let go of Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. But, why do we have to deal with Kikiamin's people? Li Shan sneered and said, Everything that happened last night, Kikiamin's people were watching from the side. They also know what happened last night. Today, the two of us stopped Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Kikiamin's people also know. We killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Kikiamin's people will definitely know that it was the two of us who did it. Once water spirit and fire spirit are killed, it won't be a big deal in the short term. But after a long time, the Tiangongmen will definitely send people to investigate. At this point, Li Shan paused and sighed before continuing. Wu Ketian, if you were to investigate this matter, where would you investigate first? Hearing Li Shan's question, Wu Ketian was shocked. You mean, the Tiangongmen will investigate Kikiaman's people? Li Shan nodded, of course. Water spirit and fire spirit came out this time to find Kikiaman's people. Once water spirit and fire spirit go missing, the Tiangongmen will definitely investigate Kikiaman. Kikiaman's power is weak. Under the Tiangongmen's questioning, I think they will definitely tell them about us. At that time, as long as the Tiangongmen aren't fools, they will definitely think that water spirit and fire spirit's disappearance must have something to do with us. At this point, Li Shan turned to look at Wu Ketian and said coldly, Wu Ketian, how long do you think we can hide this matter? At this point, Li Shan's tone became even colder. Or do you think that the Tiangongmen won't be able to find Kikiaman's people? After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian thought for a moment and couldn't help but sigh. It seems that we have no choice. Chapter 622. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan nodded. We really have no choice. Since we are going to do this, we have to do our best. If we are careless, we will definitely attract the Tiangongmen's pursuit. At that time, not to mention the equipment, we might not even be able to escape from the Tiangongmen's pursuit. Speaking up to here, Li Shan's tone paused. He turned his head to look at Wu Ketian and sneered. We have no choice, we can only do this. Wu Ketian sighed. But we've already promised Water Spirit and Fire Spirit that as long as they write down the agreement, we'll let them go. If we attack them again, wouldn't we be going back on our words and become villains? Li Shan sneered and shook his head. Even if we become villains, it is still better than being dead. Wu Ketian turned his head to look at Li Shan and slowly asked, Are you really going to do this? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan suddenly sighed and coughed twice. He bitterly smiled and said, Wu Ketian, you are wrong. It is not that I am going to do this, it is you who is going to do it. What? Hearing this, Wu Ketian suddenly exclaimed. After he reacted, he immediately turned his head to look at Li Shan and sternly shouted. Li Shan, what do you mean? Do you want me to do it? Hearing this, Li Shan bitterly smiled and shook his head. He slowly said, Wu Ketian, my original plan was to have the two of us do it together. That is why I advised you to stop. Speaking up to here, Li Shan's tone paused for a moment before he continued, but you didn't listen. You also saw how much strength you used. You should know better than me. Now you have seriously injured me. Even if I wanted to sit up, I would barely be able to do so. Do you think I would still be able to do it with such a serious injury? After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian was stunned for a moment. He looked at Li Shan blankly and suddenly an idea popped up in his mind. Could it be that Li Shan let him hit him on purpose? If all of this was part of Li Shan's plan, then everything had a reasonable explanation. When Wu Ketian punched, if Li Shan was prepared, he would not have been hit by Wu Ketian's punch. Even if he was hit, if Li Shan dodged, he would not have been hit in the vitals. At most, he would have been slightly injured. However, Wu Ketian's punch actually hit Li Mingshan. Wu Ketian was sure that Li Mingshan was seriously injured, and it was indeed very serious. The moment he had hit Li Shan, Wu Ketian's heart had been incomparably excited. He had thought that he had chased away a strong enemy and would be able to obtain the 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. But now Wu Ketian suddenly regretted it. Even if Wu Ketian didn't want to hear Li Shan's words, he had to admit that Li Shan was right. If he wanted to deal with Shadowless, it would not be easy for him or the Wu family to do it alone. The most important thing was that if Shadowless went to the Tiangongmen first and got the 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, even if he took the IOU to the Tiangongmen to ask for the equipment, would the Tiangongmen give him the 6 pieces of level 20 equipment? Wu Ketian did not need to think about the answer. He knew that it was not certain. Even though the Tiangongmen were rich and powerful, they would not take out 12 pieces of level 20 equipment at once. So, Li Shan's words were very reasonable. If they wanted to get the equipment, the two of them had to work together. As long as the two of them worked together, it would be much easier to deal with Shadowless. They just had to find Shadowless, take the IOU back, and then go to the Tiangongmen to ask for the equipment. That would be much easier. Taking a step back, even if they couldn't find Shadowless, the two of them would go to the Tiangongmen to ask for the equipment. In terms of momentum, they would have a higher chance of getting the equipment. Wu Ketian understood what Li Shan meant and agreed with him. Especially regarding Water Spirit, Fire Spirit, and Kikyaman, he agreed with him even more. This was because he had thought about this problem from the beginning. Keeping Water Spirit and Fire Spirit alive would be a big problem sooner or later. Wu Ketian did not believe that Water Spirit and Fire Spirit would not want to take revenge after being wronged like this. If he let Water Spirit and Fire Spirit go today, then he would not have a peaceful life in the future. So, even if Li Shan didn't say it, Wu Ketian did not plan on letting Water Spirit and Fire Spirit go. He did not even plan on letting Li Shan and Li Mingshui go. This was because Wu Ketian had always believed that the only people who could truly keep a secret were those who had died. What happened today was not honorable. Once outsiders found out, it would bring endless trouble to Wu Ketian. In order to reduce the trouble, he could only kill everyone. Right now, out of everyone, only Wu Ketian still had the ability to fight. As for Wu Ketian's uncle Wu Lai, he had already been injured by Shadowless Master, Du Wu Dai. Everyone was injured and only Wu Ketian could barely fight. Right now, Wu Ketian was the king of this area. If he wanted to kill someone, then that person would be finished. The moment Wu Ketian defeated Li Shan, he had already thought about it. He would kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, as well as Li Shan and Fire Spirit. Then he would leave with the IOU and go to the Tiangongmen to ask for the equipment. Everything was planned perfectly. He would be able to get 6 pieces of level 20 equipment. Unfortunately, after hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian gave up on this idea. If he wanted to get the equipment by himself, it would be difficult. However, if he cooperated with Li Shan, then his chances of getting the equipment would be doubled. Although he could only get 3 pieces of level 20 equipment by cooperating with Li Shan, it was still better than nothing. Wu Ketian had already made up his mind to cooperate with Li Shan, but he never thought that there would be such a hurdle waiting for him. Li Shan couldn't make a move right now. If he wanted to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, as well as Kikyaman's people, then he could only do it himself. However, Wu Ketian didn't want to do this. He could injure Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, but he didn't want to take the responsibility of killing them. There was also the most important problem. Li Shan was watching from the side. If he killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, then wouldn't Li Shan have something to use against him? Thinking up to here, Wu Ketian's face became very ugly. The purpose of this trip was to get some benefit. However, if Li Shan had something to use against him, then not to mention the 3 pieces of level 20 equipment, even in the future, Li Shan would use this matter to threaten him. Therefore, Wu Ketian definitely wouldn't do this. Chapter 623. Thinking of this, Wu Ketian turned his head to look at Li Shan and lightly said, "Li Shan, I will not do this, unless the two of us do it together." Li Shan was stunned for a moment after hearing Wu Ketian's words. He understood that Wu Ketian had seen through his plan. Yes, Li Shan did it on purpose. From the beginning, Li Shan was unprepared and let Wu Ketian hit him. Because from the very beginning, Li Mingshan had already planned for this step. Water spirit, fire spirit, and Kikiaman's people, these people must be eliminated. However, Li Shan didn't want to do it because he knew that if he only injured water spirit and fire spirit, although their hatred was deep, there was still room for reconciliation. If water spirit and fire spirit really died, then once the people of the Heavens Craftsman faction found out about it, they wouldn't have a good life in the future. Therefore, Li Shan used this plan to trick Wu Ketian into doing it while he reaped the benefits of it. More importantly, he had Wu Ketian's weakness in his hands. In short, as long as he didn't do it, he would benefit the most. Because of this, Li Shan didn't hesitate to be seriously injured by Wu Ketian in exchange for this favorable situation. However, Wu Ketian did ruin his plan. This was a bit difficult to deal with. After a long time, Li Shan turned to look at Wu Ketian and said slowly, "Wu Ketian, why don't you do it?" Hearing Li Shan's question, Wu Ketian suddenly sneered. "Li Shan, do you really think I don't know what you're planning? As long as I do it, I'm afraid you will blame everything on me. At that time, not to mention getting the equipment, even I will be threatened by you in the future." Speaking of this, Wu Ketian paused and sneered again. "Li Shan, since you also have a part in it, then let's do it together. Otherwise, we will separate and rely on our luck." Li Shan suddenly laughed. "Wu Ketian, you're too careful. We've already done this. If you want to give up halfway, I'm afraid it's impossible." At this point, Li Mingshan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Wu Ketian to speak. He pointed at water spirit and fire spirit in the distance and continued to speak. "Wu Ketian, now that we've beaten up water spirit and fire spirit so badly, do you think that even if you don't do anything, water spirit and fire spirit won't hold a grudge? Let me tell you, our enmity with water spirit and fire spirit is already set. Even if you want to back out, water spirit and fire spirit will not let you go." At this point, Li Mingshan turned to Wu Ketian and said, "Wu Ketian, we don't have any other choice. We can only continue with this matter. If you want to quit halfway, I think that once water spirit and fire spirit recover from their injuries, you will face their revenge." After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian sneered. "Li Mingshan, I admit that once water spirit and fire spirit recover from their injuries, they will definitely take revenge on me." At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing, "But, do you think that water spirit and fire spirit will only take revenge on me? That's impossible. The people that water spirit and fire spirit are looking for, I'm afraid that you, Li Mingshan, are also involved. At that time, I won't be the only one to face water spirit and fire spirit's revenge. You, Li Mingshan, will also face it." After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan sighed. "Wu Ketian, I know that. That's why I said that we don't have a choice. Listen to me, we can only kill water spirit and fire spirit." Wu Ketian heard this and shook his head. "But, if I kill water spirit and fire spirit myself, then you will be reaping the benefits." Li Mingshan turned his head and looked at Wu Ketian. After thinking for a while, he sighed. "Wu Ketian, I know that if you do this alone, it will be difficult for you. But, even though I want to do it, my injuries are too heavy. I can't do it." Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan hesitated for a moment before slowly saying, "Wu Ketian, how about this? Originally, each of us would get 3 pieces of level 20 equipment. But now, because you've contributed a lot, I'll only get 2 pieces of level 20 equipment, and you'll get 4 pieces of level 20 equipment. What do you think?" Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian's eyes suddenly lit up. He quickly asked, "Li Mingshan, are you serious? You only want 2 pieces of level 20 equipment?" Seeing Wu Ketian's impatient look, Li Mingshan sneered in his heart, but his face didn't change at all. "Wu Ketian, I'm heavily injured right now. I can't finish this matter. If you're willing to finish this matter, I'm willing to take 1 less piece of equipment as compensation." Wu Ketian, what do you think? Hearing these words, Wu Ketian paused for a moment. He thought for a moment and immediately reacted. Wu Ketian turned his head and fiercely glared at Li Mingshan. After a while, he coldly asked, Li Mingshan, are you trying to trick me again? Hearing this, Li Mingshan quickly shook his head. Wu Ketian, how could I? I've already decided to give up a piece of level 20 equipment. Why would I trick you again? Wu Ketian sneered. Li Mingshan, your plan is very good. Unfortunately, I won't fall for it. Li Shan hurriedly shook his head. Wu Ketian, I don't have a plan. I'm just too injured to do what I want to do. That's why I took out a piece of equipment as compensation. Do you think you'll fall for my trick if I give you equipment? Wu Ketian stared at Li Mingshan and coldly said, Li Mingshan, although you've agreed to give me a piece of level 20 equipment, but after I kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, you'll have something on me. I'm afraid you won't give me any equipment. Speaking up to this point, Wu Ketian's tone paused for a moment. However, he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to reply and continued to speak. At that time, not only will you not give me any equipment, but I'm afraid that even my equipment will be yours. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan quickly waved his hand. Wu Ketian, how could this be? How could I think like this? What I'm thinking right now is how to solve this problem. Speaking up to this point, Li Mingshan's tone paused for a moment before he solemnly said, Wu Ketian, time is of the essence. If we don't hurry up and deal with this matter, what if someone passes by and sees what happened here? Wouldn't that be bad? Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian's heart moved. This place was on both sides of the official road. There would definitely be people passing by. Chapter 624. Wu Ketian looked around. I know what Li Shan said is right. If I don't deal with the trouble here as soon as possible, it will be too late if someone passes by. However, even if it was for this reason, Wu Ketian didn't plan to do it himself. If he did it, Li Shan would watch from the side. Although he solved this problem, he was afraid that it would bring him more trouble. Thinking of this, Wu Ketian turned his head and looked at Li Shan. He sneered and said, Li Shan, I don't care what happened. If we want to do it, we have to do it together. If you want me to do it alone, it is absolutely impossible. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan shook his head with a wry smile. Wu Ketian, you also saw that I am seriously injured. Even if I want to do it, I can't. Wu Ketian shook his head. I don't care. In short, if you want me to do it alone, it is impossible. Li Shan sighed. Wu Ketian, then tell me what to do. I really can't do it now. Even if I want to help you, I don't have the strength. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian secretly sighed in his heart. If his punch wasn't so heavy, Li Shan wouldn't have suffered such a heavy injury. However, Wu Ketian thought that if he didn't hit Li Shan so hard, maybe Li Shan would attack him. At that time, the person who would be seriously injured would be him. Now, he could only think of a solution. Otherwise, Li Shan wouldn't be able to do it. In the end, he would be the one to do it. No, absolutely not. If he really did that, then endless troubles would follow. Wu Ketian's eyes rolled around, sweeping around the field. Suddenly, his heart moved. He saw Li Shan's saber thrown to the side. He was suddenly overjoyed. He quickly stood up and walked in front of the saber. He bent down and picked up the saber. Then he turned his head and looked at Li Shan. He sneered and said, Li Shan, now that Water Spirit and Fire Spirit can't move, you just need to take this saber and slowly walk over. You can easily get rid of them. What do you think? Looking at the saber in Wu Ketian's hand, Li Shan was stunned for a moment. Then, he secretly complained. Wu Ketian, I can't move now. Even if you give me this saber, I can't do anything. Hearing Li Shan's answer, Wu Ketian sneered and threw the knife in front of Li Shan. He sneered and said, Li Shan, you don't have a choice. I'll tell you the truth. If you want me to do it myself, it's impossible. I won't be fooled by you. At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to speak and continued to speak. Li Mingshan, you were the one who proposed the cooperation. Now I want to see if you are sincere or not. Li Shan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Wu Ketian, this is not a matter of sincerity. I really can't move now. How much strength did you use just now? Don't you know? Wu Ketian heard this and nodded. I know that I used a lot of strength, but I also know that after you were hit by my punch, you deliberately flew into the air to reduce the strength of my punch. So I'm sure that even if you are injured now, it's definitely not serious to the point where you can't move. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan was stunned for a moment. Then, he quickly shook his head. Wu Ketian, what you said is wrong. I didn't fly into the air on purpose. Your punch was too powerful and directly hit me in the air. That's why I was seriously injured. If I was prepared, how could I be hit by you? Saying this, Li Shan paused and sighed before continuing. Wu Ketian, I won't take that risk. If you don't want to cooperate with me, then my injury will be in vain. What's more, if you go back on your words, then I won't be able to fight back. Wu Ketian, please believe me. I'm seriously injured right now. I'm definitely not faking it. Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Shan, you don't need to lie to me. I've been injured before. Everyone knows that. Even if we are seriously injured, we can barely use a bit of strength. It's impossible for us to be completely powerless. Saying this, Wu Ketian squinted at the saber on the ground and continued, Li Shan, as long as you take this saber and kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, then I'll believe that you really want to cooperate with me. But if you don't want to do it, then it proves that you don't really want to cooperate with me. You want to use my weakness to blackmail me. Am I right, Li Shan? Hearing this, Li Shan quickly shook his head and bitterly smiled. Wu Ketian, I'm seriously injured right now. How can I think about that? At this point, Li Mingshan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Wu Ketian to speak and continued to speak. Wu Ketian, I just want to solve this problem and get the equipment safely. Other than that, I really don't have any other thoughts. Please believe me, if we don't act soon, then it will be too late. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian sneered. Li Shan, since you know that it's too late, then hurry up and pick up the saber on the ground. Go to Water Spirit and Fire Spirit and kill them both. Li Shan bitterly smiled and shook his head. I'm seriously injured. How can I do what you said? You do it. Saying this, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. You still have your strength. As long as you go to them, you only need 2 punches to solve this problem. Wu Ketian, don't hesitate. Don't worry, I definitely won't lie to you. I definitely won't use this matter to blackmail you like you said. Don't worry, as long as we solve this problem, it'll be equivalent to us getting the equipment and no one will know. Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian sneered. Li Shan, you still want to lie to me? Do you really think that I won't dare to kill you? Saying this, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing. Or do you think that I'll cooperate with you? Li Shan shook his head. Wu Ketian, I don't have such thoughts. I really just want to solve this problem and get the decoration fee. Wu Ketian, what do I say to make you believe me? I really just want to get the equipment. If I wasn't seriously injured, I would definitely kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit myself. Chapter 625. Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Shan, I don't believe you. Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing. If you want me to believe you, then do as I say. Otherwise, I won't believe you no matter what. Li Shan sighed. Wu Ketian, why don't you believe me? I just want to solve the problem in front of me. As for other problems, I really never thought about them. Wu Ketian sneered. Li Shan, don't lie to me. If you didn't think about it, then why didn't you defend yourself when I punched you? At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to answer his question and continued to speak. Li Shan, the reason why you didn't defend yourself was because you had already calculated this point. So you let me hurt you on purpose. Li Shan heard this and said angrily, Wu Ketian, do you think I want to be hurt by you? If I didn't want to cooperate with you and let my guard down, how could I let you hurt me? At this point, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing, Wu Ketian, I won't do that. What if you suddenly attack me while I'm injured? What should I do then? Wu Ketian, please believe me. The most important thing right now is to solve the problem in front of you. Don't bother about these things with me. Wu Ketian shook his head and said lightly, Li Shan, we are all martial artists. After practicing martial arts for so many years, at least we have an instinctive reaction. However, when I attacked you, you didn't react at all. Do you dare to say that you didn't let me hurt you on purpose? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan was stunned. Then, he hurriedly said, We've all been fighting for so long, and we've all been seriously injured. Plus, I really want to cooperate with you. Even if I don't have any reaction, it should be reasonable. Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Mingshan, don't try to deceive me anymore. You deliberately let me injure you so that I can kill water spirit and fire spirit by myself. You, on the other hand, used this matter to threaten me in the future. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan's heart suddenly moved. He quickly said, Wu Ketian, aren't you worried about this matter? It doesn't matter. As long as you kill water spirit and fire spirit, we can push this matter onto Shadowless. At that time, as long as we say that water spirit and fire spirit were killed by Shadowless, this matter will be resolved. You don't have to worry about me threatening you. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian's eyes suddenly lit up. After thinking about it carefully, his face changed. Li Mingshan, are you trying to trick me again? If we say that Shadowless did it, then what about the Kikyaman incident? Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian's tone paused for a moment. But then, he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to answer his question and continued. We already said at the beginning that we will push this matter onto Kikyaman. If we say that Shadowless did it, then wouldn't it be contradictory? Li Mingshan shook his head. Wu Ketian, we can say that Kikyaman and Shadowless did it together. Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan's tone paused for a moment before continuing. At that time, when we arrived, Water Spirit and Fire Spirit were already dying and told us about this matter at the last moment. And we can only find Kikyaman's people to avenge Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. But Shadowless has already run away. Won't this matter be resolved if the two of us say this? Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan thought of something and added. Wu Ketian, if we say this, then there's another benefit. Think about it, Kikyaman's martial arts aren't good enough. If it's just Kikyaman's people, it's impossible and no one would believe it. But if we say that Kikyaman's people and Shadowless work together, then wouldn't it be more reasonable? If Kikyaman's people can't deal with Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, then with Shadowless, they can definitely kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Wu Ketian, what do you think? As long as we say this, then this matter will be pushed out. Then, no matter what happens, it will have nothing to do with us. Hearing Li Mingshan's explanation, Wu Ketian started to believe it. Shadowless's martial arts weren't weak. He could almost handle any one of Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Kikyaman's people weren't good at martial arts, but with Shadowless, it was very possible to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Thinking up to here, Wu Ketian secretly nodded. However, this was a big matter. Even if Wu Ketian believed it, he didn't dare to do it himself. Wu Ketian made up his mind. No matter what, he had to pull Li Mingshan in. This was the best choice. Although Li Mingshan's words sounded good, once he really did it, who could guarantee that he wouldn't use this matter to threaten him in the future? So, if they were going to do it, then they had to do it together. Thinking up to here, Wu Ketian turned his head and looked at Li Mingshan. He smiled and said, Li Mingshan, I admit that what you said makes sense, but this matter is too important. If you want me to do it alone, then I won't feel at ease. At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing, so, if you want to do this, then the two of us have to do it together. If not, I won't do it and I won't do it. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan sighed. Wu Ketian, you still don't want to believe me. I already said that when the time comes, as long as you push this matter to Shadowless, then it will have nothing to do with us. Since the matter has already been solved, how can you be in trouble? What can I use to threaten you? Wu Ketian, please believe me. This matter is really urgent. I just want to solve this matter. Other than that, I have no other intentions. Wu Ketian sighed. Li Mingshan, to tell you the truth, this matter is too important. No matter what reason you give, I won't kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit alone. If you really want to cooperate with me, then kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit together with me. Only then will I believe you. Li Mingshan shook his head and sighed. Wu Ketian, if you didn't injure me, I could solve this matter myself. Why would I be here persuading you? Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Mingshan, don't lie to me. No matter what you say, I won't believe you. Hurry up and do it. Chapter 6:26. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan sighed and said with a wry smile, Wu Ketian, as you can see, I'm seriously injured. Even if I want to help you, I can't. Wu Ketian shook his head. I don't believe you. You don't have to lie to me. I won't believe you. You won't let yourself be passive in that situation because you're afraid that I won't accept your reason and attack you. At this point, Wu Ketian's tone paused. He sneered and continued, Li Mingshan, am I right? After listening to Wu Ketian's question, Li Shan was shocked. He thought that he had concealed it well, but he didn't expect Wu Ketian to see through it. When Li Shan thought of this method, he was already guarding against Wu Ketian's refusal to cooperate with him. At that time, when Wu Ketian hit Li Shan, in order to not let himself be injured too seriously, Li Shan jumped up the moment Wu Ketian hit him to neutralize Wu Ketian's attack. Although he was still seriously injured, because he jumped away in advance, he only received 60 to 70% of Wu Ketian's punch. The reason why Li Shan did this was just as Wu Ketian said. If Wu Ketian refused to cooperate with him, then he would have no defense at all. Although Li Shan's reason was very good, both sides had been fighting for a long time. After all, they were a little angry. Not only that, both sides were fighting very badly. Li Shan's arm was broken, Wu Ketian's arm was cut off, and Wu Kedi and Li Mingshui were lying on the ground unconscious. The battle was so fierce that Li Shan couldn't guarantee that Wu Ketian could still keep a clear head and talk to him about this matter. If Wu Ketian lost his mind and didn't listen to his explanation, then Li Shan would be in danger. It was precisely because of this that Li Shan was able to maintain a certain level of strength. Although he was seriously injured, once Wu Ketian had the intention to harm him, Li Shan would still be able to escape to ensure that he would be able to escape safely. Li Mingshan was also very clear that if he couldn't escape, then he and Li Mingshui would both be killed by Wu Ketian. But once he ran away, Wu Ketian would absolutely not make a move against Li Mingshui. Because once Wu Ketian harmed Li Mingshui, he was very clear that he would become Li Mingshui's mortal enemy. No matter how high Wu Ketian's martial arts were, with an expert like Li Shan secretly plotting against him, Wu Ketian couldn't guarantee that he would be able to escape Li Shan's plot. Therefore, as long as Li Mingshan escaped, Li Mingshui would be safe too. Once Li Mingshan couldn't escape, Li Mingshui would definitely be killed by Wu Ketian. It was because of these reasons that Li Mingshan would definitely maintain a certain level of strength and make a final plan. Seeing that Li Shan did not speak, Wu Ketian suddenly sneered. Li Shan, I guessed right. Although you are seriously injured, you still have the strength to fight, am I right? Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian's tone paused for a moment, but then, he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to answer his question, and continued to speak. Li Mingshan, I'll tell you the truth. Whether you want to do it or not, this matter must be done by the two of us. If you want me to do it alone, it is absolutely impossible. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan sighed. Wu Ketian, why do you think I still have strength? Don't you have confidence in that punch of yours? Just now, in order to deal with me, it can be said that you have already gone all out. The power of your punch, you should be very clear about it. How can you still doubt that I am faking it? Wu Ketian shook his head, sneered and said, Li Mingshan, it's not that I doubt you, but with your temper, you will never be unprepared. After I hit you with that punch, you must have been prepared to take it. I think there are many ways that you can weaken the power of my punch. Li Mingshan, am I right? Li Mingshan shook his head. Wu Ketian, I really want to cooperate with you. I don't want to fight with you anymore. At that time, I also thought that you wanted to cooperate with me and didn't want to fight with me anymore, so I didn't take any precautions. Is there anything strange about that? Wu Ketian sneered. Li Mingshan, aren't you afraid that I won't listen to you and insist on killing you? Li Mingshan shook his head. You won't, Wu Ketian, you will never do that. Everyone came out this time for the equipment. Speaking up to this point, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. I've already made it very clear. If you want to rely on yourself to obtain those items, it's almost impossible. That's why we have to work together. I thought that you would understand this, so I didn't take any precautions. However, I never thought that you would still make a move. Now you have seriously injured me, but you still don't admit it and think that I am faking it. This is really strange. Wu Ketian turned his head and looked at Li Mingshan. After a long while, he coldly said, Li Mingshan, I don't want to listen to you anymore. Now I will only give you two choices. One is to quickly pick up the knife on the ground and kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian's tone paused for a moment, but then his tone suddenly became cold. And the other choice is to let me kill you. You choose, what should you do? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan's heart was suddenly shocked, and he hurriedly said, No, I am seriously injured now. I can't kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Wu Ketian sneered, Since this is the case, you are useless. Sorry, I will take it that you have chosen the second choice. After saying this, Wu Ketian slowly stood up. Seeing this, Li Mingshan's face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly said, Wu Ketian, what do you want to do? Wu Ketian sneered. Li Mingshan, you want to do nothing to get those equipment? Let me tell you, that is impossible. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian's tone paused, and then he continued, Since you can't help, then I can only let you two brothers accompany Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan's face became a bit pale. He was certain that Wu Ketian would definitely do what he said, because Wu Ketian's cold eyes already showed that he had made up his mind. As long as Li Mingshan dared to say no, he would dare to punch Li Mingshan to death. Understanding this, Li Mingshan's heart was filled with horror. Chapter 6:27. Seeing that Wu Ketian was about to make a move, Li Shan hurriedly shouted, Wu Ketian, you can't do this. If you only rely on yourself to find Shadowless, even if you find him, you won't be able to deal with him. You can only work with me. We can work together to deal with him. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian shook his head and sneered. Li Shan, you don't have to worry about this. I have a way to deal with this. Speaking up to this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing. However, if you want to know how I'm going to deal with this, I can tell you. Li Shan, since I can work with you, why can't I work with Shadowless? When the time comes, I just need to find Shadowless and tell him what's at stake. I believe that Shadowless will definitely work with me. Li Shan, do you understand now? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan only felt a chill from the bottom of his heart. He suddenly realized that Wu Ketian was right. Since Wu Ketian could work with him, why can't he work with Shadowless? As for himself, although he already understood Wu Ketian's thoughts, he was already so heavily injured. Even if he understood, what could he do? Thinking up to this point, Li Shan calmed himself down and forced a smile. Wu Ketian, you're wrong. Do you really think that Shadowless will work with you? Speaking up to this point, Li Shan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Wu Ketian to reply and continued speaking. Wu Ketian, you're wrong. Shadowless won't work with you. If he does, are you going to take these 2 notes to the Tiangongmen to ask for equipment? Let me tell you, that's impossible. There are 12 pieces of equipment on these 2 notes. Do you really think that the Tiangongmen will give you 12 pieces of level 20 equipment? Speaking up to this point, Li Shan sneered and turned his head to look at Wu Ketian. Wu Ketian, do you really think that level 20 equipment is cabbage that can be found everywhere? That's impossible. Even if the Tiangongmen are rich, level 20 equipment is still a luxury to them. You want to get 12 pieces of level 20 equipment? Is that impossible? Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian sneered. Why do we need 12 pieces of level 20 equipment? Can't we only need 6 pieces of level 20 equipment? If we only ask for 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, I believe that Shadowless and I can work together and ask the Tiangongmen for it. The Tiangongmen will definitely give it to us. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan shook his head, sneering as he asked, Wu Ketian, even if the Tiangongmen are willing to give you 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, how are you going to split them? At this point, Li Shan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Wu Ketian's reply and continued to speak. Wu Ketian, do you really think that each of you can get 3 pieces of level 20 equipment? Humph, I'm telling you, that's impossible. When Shadowless snatched the IOU, his goal was to monopolize the equipment on the IOU. Do you think he'd give you 3 pieces of level 20 equipment? Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, then his heart skipped a beat. When Shadowless stole the IOU, Wu Ketian knew that Shadowless wanted to monopolize the equipment on the IOU. There was no doubt about that. If Shadowless wanted to split the equipment on the IOU, then he wouldn't have stolen it. Seeing that Wu Ketian didn't reply, Li Shan sneered. Wu Ketian, I was right. If you and Shadowless want to work together, you won't be able to work together unless you don't want the equipment. At this point, Li Shan paused for a moment, then continued. Wu Ketian, you have to think clearly. It's better to work with me. We can at least split the equipment on the IOU. I won't ask for more. You don't have to worry about that. I, Li Shan, am a man of my words. I won't go back on my words and break the alliance between us. Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian suddenly sighed. Li Shan, I'll give you one more chance. As long as you're willing to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, I'll work with you. Otherwise, I can only go to Shadowless and try my luck. If Shadowless isn't like what you said, then we'll work together. If he doesn't agree, then we'll have to rely on our own abilities. Hearing this, Li Shan quickly shook his head. Wu Ketian, you have to think clearly. Shadowless won't agree. If you go to him without my help, aren't you afraid that he'll harm you? Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian sighed in his heart. But no matter what, it was impossible for him to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit by himself. The Tiangongmen were very powerful. Once Wu Ketian was threatened by Li Shan, it would be too late for regrets. If he didn't agree to Li Shan's demands, then he would be hunted down by the Tiangongmen. Thinking of this, Wu Ketian sighed. Li Shan, no matter what, as long as you want to work with me, then you have to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Otherwise, even if I don't want the equipment, I won't do it myself. Hearing this, Li Shan paused for a moment, then said, Wu Ketian, what are you worried about? I already said that I won't use this to threaten you. Don't worry. Speaking of this, Li Shan paused for a moment, then continued, Wu Ketian, actually there's one thing you didn't think of. Even if you kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, there are only a few of us here. Other than us, who else would know that you did it? Speaking of this, Li Shan paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Wu Ketian to reply and continued. Wu Ketian, if I want to use this to threaten you, who would believe me? When the time comes, if you say that I did it, do you think anyone would believe you? Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian's heart suddenly moved. He subconsciously looked around, and seeing that there was no one around, his heart couldn't help but become active. Li Mingshan was right. Even if he killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit himself, no one would know about it. Even if Li Mingshan wanted to use this matter to threaten him, saying that he was the one who killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, he could also say that Li Mingshan was the one who killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Since there was no one around these 4 weeks, no one would know who killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Since it was like this, even if he killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, what could Li Shan use to threaten him? Chapter 628. Wu Ketian was tempted. He turned to look at Li Shan and was about to speak, but his heart skipped a beat again. At this moment, Li Shan was seriously injured. Even if he pretended to be weak and saved a bit of his strength, he was definitely not Wu Ketian's opponent. If Wu Ketian killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, and Li Shan reaped the benefits, not only would he not do anything, but he would also have no chance to threaten Wu Ketian. Thinking of this, Wu Ketian was really unwilling to give up. Li Shan deliberately took a punch from Wu Ketian, and Wu Ketian couldn't say anything. It was really wishful thinking. No, Wu Ketian couldn't let Li Shan get away with this. Thinking of this, Wu Ketian sneered. Li Mingshan, you want me to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit by myself? That is absolutely impossible. Unless the two of us work together, don't even think about it. Li Shan saw that Wu Ketian was tempted, but changed his mind in the blink of an eye. He couldn't help but feel anxious. Wu Ketian, you know that it's not that I don't want to do it, but I've been injured by you. I can't do it even if I want to. Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing. Moreover, I've already said that even if you do it, as long as we push the blame to Shadowless and Kikyaman, it will have nothing to do with us. Not only that, even if I want to use this to threaten you, no one will believe me. So, just do it. There won't be any accidents. Wu Ketian shook his head. No, I'm really scared. I'm scared that, if I really do it, what kind of tricks will you play? Li Shan smiled bitterly and shook his head. I've already been beaten so badly by you. What kind of tricks can I play? Don't worry. I just want to cooperate with you and get the equipment safely. Other than that, I really don't have any other ideas. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian sighed. Li Shan, maybe you're right, but I don't want to take this risk. If you play any tricks, won't I be the unlucky one? Hearing this, Li Mingshan hurriedly waved his hand. Wu Ketian, don't worry. I swear to God that I won't play any tricks on you. Just do it. Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Mingshan, I don't believe you can make an oath, but you don't need to make an oath. Did you forget that you also made an oath to Shui Lingzi, saying that as long as Shui Lingzi wrote down the agreement, you would let him go? But so what if you swore an oath? You still want to kill them. Li Shan, don't say any more. I just want to tell you that, if we want to fight, we have to fight together. If you want me to fight alone, that's absolutely impossible. Hearing this, Li Mingshan sighed. Wu Ketian, if you want me to do it, that's fine, but I need to focus on healing my injuries. I can only do it after my injuries are healed. At this point, Li Shan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Wu Ketian's reply and continued to speak. It might take a long time, but since you want me to do it, I have no choice. After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian couldn't help but frown. Li Mingshan's words weren't a lie. His injuries were very serious. If he wanted to focus on healing, he would need a long time to recover some of his strength. However, Wu Ketian was also very clear that he didn't have that much time to wait for Li Mingshan. Because this was the official road, people could pass by here at any time. Wu Ketian was sure that no matter who passed by here, as long as they saw the miserable situation here, they would definitely come down to ask. At that time, it would be really troublesome. Once someone went to ask Shui Lingzi and Fire Spirit, this matter would be easily discovered by outsiders. At that time, if he wanted to keep this a secret, he would have to kill those who came. However, the more people were killed, the higher the chance of this matter being discovered by outsiders. Therefore, Wu Ketian didn't want this to happen. Thinking of this, Wu Ketian turned his head and looked at Li Mingshan. He sneered and said, "Li Mingshan, Shui Lingzi and Fire Spirit are already seriously injured. Even if you crawled over, you could easily kill them. It doesn't seem like you need to focus on healing." Li Mingshan shook his head. "Wu Ketian, that's impossible. I'm seriously injured right now. If I forcefully use my strength, I'm afraid that there will be repercussions. At that time, I'm afraid that my martial arts won't be able to improve at all. Wouldn't that be a loss?" Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian shook his head. "Li Mingshan, you don't need to lie to me. As long as you don't use your qi, I won't let your injuries worsen." At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing. "Of course, you might feel pain when you move, but it's worth it. After all, half of the 6 pieces of level 20 equipment in my hands belong to you." Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan said angrily, "If I don't use my qi, do you think I can still stand up?" Hearing this, Wu Ketian sneered and said, "Stand up? Why do you have to stand up? Water Spirit and Fire Spirit aren't far from here. Can't you crawl over?" Speaking to this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment. However, he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to speak and continued to speak. "Li Mingshan, don't tell me you don't want to. In South County City, not to mention 3 level 20 equipment, even if it's just 1 level 20 equipment, there are plenty of people willing to crawl on the ground. Why don't you want to?" Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan was instantly enraged. He pointed at Wu Ketian and roared, "Good Wu Ketian, you actually want me to crawl over? Good Wu Ketian, you're really good. You can even think of such a despicable idea. You're really smart." Speaking to this point, Li Mingshan angrily took a few deep breaths. Perhaps because he was panting too fast, he couldn't help but cough violently. After a while, when the coughing stopped, Li Mingshan continued to curse. "Wu Ketian, I'm telling you, don't even think about it. Even if I can't get the equipment, I, Li Mingshan, will definitely not crawl over." Hearing Li Mingshan's angry words, Wu Ketian coldly smiled and shook his head. He took out the contract and waved it in front of Li Mingshan. "Li Mingshan, are you really willing? There are 6 pieces of equipment written on this piece of paper. As long as you crawl to Water Spirit's side and kill her with your blade, these 6 pieces of level 20 equipment will be half yours. Li Shan, think about it. Is it worth it to do this?" Chapter 629. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan sneered and shook his head. "Wu Ketian, even if I can't get the equipment, I won't crawl over there." Wu Ketian's face suddenly turned cold. "Li Shan, I'll give you one more chance. If you don't crawl over there, then don't blame me for being impolite." Li Shan shook his head. "Wu Ketian, don't say any more. Since you don't intend to cooperate with me, then there's no point in me saying anything more. If you want to keep these equipment for yourself, then you can have them. I won't fight with you." Seeing that Li Shan really didn't want the equipment, Wu Ketian was stunned. After a while, he asked tentatively, "Li Shan, you really don't want the equipment? Li Shan sneered. Why wouldn't I want it? This is level 20 equipment. Unless you're an idiot who wouldn't want it. Speaking up to here, Li Shan paused for a moment before continuing, but I really can't accept your conditions. If you want the equipment, then take it. Wu Ketian nodded. Li Shan, since you really don't want it, then I won't be polite. These 6 level 20 equipment will be mine. When the time comes, don't regret it. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan's face turned ashen. After working so hard for an entire night, the result was that he wouldn't get anything. No matter who it was, they wouldn't be satisfied. Wu Ketian, I finally understand that you don't really want to cooperate with me. What you said to me just now was just an excuse for yourself. Since you don't want to give me the equipment, and I'm seriously injured right now, I can't fight with you. You can take the equipment. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian nodded and didn't say anything else. He carefully folded the receipt and put it away. After putting away the receipt, Wu Ketian raised his head and looked at Li Shan, coldly asking, Li Shan, I'll give you one last chance. If you're willing to crawl over and kill water spirit and fire spirit, then we'll split the equipment equally. What do you think? Li Shan sighed and slowly shook his head. He bitterly smiled and said, Wu Ketian, I suddenly realized that you're really smart. I'm afraid you wanted to do this from the beginning. Speaking up to here, Li Shan's tone, but he didn't wait for Wu Ketian's reply and continued. When I said I wanted to cooperate, you already guessed that I really wanted to cooperate with you. Therefore, you beat me when I wasn't prepared, you injured me. You injured me. Then, you gave you Shan. Most importantly, you knew that I wouldn't agree to it. You said that just to find an excuse for yourself. At this point, Li Shan sighed. Well, since I'm no longer your opponent, I naturally can't compete with you. Since it's like this, I won't compete with you. Those equipment are all yours. You should be satisfied this time, right? Hearing this, Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Shan, you're wrong. At first, I suspected that you weren't sincere, so I accidentally killed you. But now you're the one who isn't sincere. You should be very clear about the reason for my request just now. It's not an unreasonable request, it's something we have to do. If we kill water spirit and fire spirit, then it's a big deal. Once others know that we killed water spirit and fire spirit, then we won't be able to escape. So, I have to be careful. At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing. I admit that the request I made just now was a little too much, but now that things have come to this, can you think of a better way? Li Shan, if you can think of a better way, then it's fine. We can even split the equipment. But you have to kill water spirit and fire spirit. Only then can we split the equipment. Otherwise, don't even think about getting a single piece of equipment. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan sighed and said with a bitter smile, Wu Ketian, no matter what, I really can't move right now. You want me to think of a way, but how can I think of a way? Wu Ketian shook his head. I don't care. As long as you can think of a way to kill water spirit and fire spirit, then we can still split the equipment. But if you can't think of a way, then I can't think of a way. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan slowly closed his eyes and began to think carefully. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes and looked at Wu Ketian, sighing. Wu Ketian, I can't think of a way. Hearing this, Wu Ketian nodded. Li Shan, since you can't think of a way, then don't blame me for not giving you any equipment. After saying this, Wu Ketian slowly stood up and walked towards Xuelingzi. After taking a few steps, Wu Ketian's heart suddenly moved. He couldn't help but frown. Slowly, his face became ashen. Seeing Wu Ketian walking towards Water Spirit, Li Shan, who was sitting on the ground, had a trace of pride in his eyes. Wu Ketian, even if you're cunning, you'll still fall into my hands. Li Shan's complacency had not yet passed when he saw Wu Ketian stop after a few steps. His heart was suddenly startled. He wanted to ask about the situation, but he also knew that at this time, he could not show any signs of anxiety. Wu Ketian stood there and pondered for a long time. Suddenly, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. He suddenly turned around and looked at Li Shan sitting on the ground. He suddenly laughed. Wu Ketian laughed for a long time. Then he slowly lowered his head and looked at Li Shan again. Li Shan, you're really good. Even now, you're still playing tricks with me. I really admire you. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan's heart was suddenly startled. He secretly speculated in his heart. Could it be that Wu Ketian saw through his intentions? Although Li Shan was panicking, his face didn't change at all. He pretended to be puzzled and asked, Wu Ketian, what do you mean? Why don't I understand? Hearing Li Shan's answer, Wu Ketian sneered and shook his head. Li Shan, what you said is wrong. It's not that you don't understand, you should understand it very well. Li Shan hurriedly asked, Wu Ketian, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand? Wu Ketian took 2 steps forward and stopped in front of Li Shan. He didn't squat down but directly looked down at Li Shan and sneered. Li Shan, I really didn't expect you to be so cunning. Chapter 630. Li Shan hurriedly waved his hand. Wu Ketian, I don't know what you're talking about. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian nodded and sneered. Okay, since you don't know, then I'll tell you. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian paused for a bit before continuing. Li Shan, you deliberately said that you don't want the equipment, but you actually have a purpose. You want to trick me into killing water spirit and fire spirit so that after I do that you can use this to threaten me. At this point Wu Ketian coldly laughed a few times before continuing, when the time comes, as long as you have something against me, you'll naturally be able to easily get back the equipment you lost. Not only that, I'm afraid you'll want even more. When the time comes, in order to prevent you from revealing this matter, I'll have to satisfy your request. This way, not only will you be able to get your share of the 3 level 20 equipment, but I'm afraid that I won't be able to keep my equipment either. In order to shut your mouth, I'll also give you my equipment. Li Shan, am I right? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan's face suddenly changed. That's right, this was his plan, but he never thought that Wu Ketian would see through his plan. However, even if Wu Ketian saw through his plan, Li Shan didn't care because the plan hadn't been implemented yet. Everything was just Wu Ketian's guess. As long as he didn't admit it, it wouldn't affect the overall situation. Thinking of this, Li Mingshan shook his head with a smile. Wu Ketian, you're too suspicious. You were the one who said that you wouldn't give me any equipment. It could be said that you were the one who told me to do this. Even now, why are you blaming me? Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian nodded. Li Shan, I can't blame you. If I want to blame someone, I can only blame myself for being stupid and not falling into your trap. At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to answer his question and continued to speak. However, I've seen through you. In short, no matter what you say later, I won't believe you. Right now, you only have 2 choices. The first option is to crawl over and kill water spirit and fire spirit. The second option is... Wu Ketian shook his fist in front of Li Shan and coldly said, the second option, if you don't agree, then I can only kill you. Looking at Wu Ketian's cold eyes at this moment, Li Shan had the thought of running away. He knew that Wu Ketian was serious this time. If he did not agree to his request, he was afraid that Wu Ketian would really kill him. Thinking of this, Li Mingshan looked around, trying to find a suitable opportunity to run away. Wu Ketian had been staring at Li Shan. Li Shan's every move naturally fell into his eyes. Seeing Li Shan constantly looking around, Wu Ketian suddenly sneered. Li Shan, don't be delusional. Do you really think you can run away? At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing, Li Mingshan, maybe you're conserving some of your strength, waiting for the critical moment to escape. But I'm telling you, that's impossible. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, I'll catch you. Speaking of this, Wu Ketian took a step forward, getting closer to Li Shanshan. Wu Ketian coldly said, Li Shanshan, the problem is, how long can you run? With your strength, I don't think you can last long. So I'm telling you, you can't run away. Just listen to my conditions. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shanshan was suddenly shocked. He realized that he had made a big mistake. He thought that he was conserving some of his strength and could escape at the critical moment. But looking at Wu Ketian's cold eyes, Li Shanshan knew that if he really wanted to run, Wu Ketian would probably keep chasing him. And he was now seriously injured. Even if he wanted to run, he could barely use his true force. He definitely wouldn't be able to last long. This meant that as long as Wu Ketian wanted to chase him, he would definitely not be able to escape. Thinking of this, Li Shanshan was secretly shocked. Wu Ketian's two conditions, he didn't like either of them. Asking him to crawl over to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit was impossible. Not to mention, if he really wanted to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, he could just walk over. Why would he need to crawl over? The second choice was even more impossible for Li Shanshan to choose. The world was so beautiful. Li Shanshan only hated that his life was short. He never thought that his life was long. So the second choice was something that Li Shanshan didn't even think about. Li Shanshan didn't want to choose either. Wu Ketian only gave him two choices. What should he do? After thinking for a long time, Li Shanshan still couldn't come up with a good idea. In desperation, he could only look up at Wu Ketian and sigh. Wu Ketian, we're all old friends. Is there a third option? Can I choose the third option? Wu Ketian shook his head. There is no third choice here. There are only two choices. If you want to choose, then choose quickly. Speaking of this, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing, Li Shanshan, you just said that there isn't much time left. So, please give me an answer so that we can solve the problem here as soon as possible. Hearing this, Li Shanshan sighed and pointed at Water Spirit in the distance. Wu Ketian, you saw it too. We're so far away. I definitely can't go over. But you want me to crawl? I can't do it. Hearing Li Shanshan's words, Wu Ketian sneered and slowly raised his fist. Li Shanshan, I don't want to hear your explanation. I just want an answer. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian's tone paused for a moment before he suddenly shouted, Li Mingshan, I want your answer now. Are you going to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, or do you want me to beat you up? Hearing this, Li Shanshan was so anxious that cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He looked at Wu Ketian's fist and kept thinking. What should he do? With Li Shanshan's current strength, it was almost impossible for him to fight with Wu Ketian. Their strength was about the same. But Li Shanshan was seriously injured. The difference in strength between the two was too big. Li Shanshan was sure that if he fought with Wu Ketian, he wouldn't even be able to last one move and would be finished off by Wu Ketian. Even if he had a saber in his hand, it wouldn't work because no matter what kind of saber technique it was, it would require the support of true power. But his current true power was very weak. If he forcefully used his true power, his internal energy would become chaotic, and he might even explode on the spot. Li Shanshan was very clear that fighting with Wu Ketian now was definitely not a wise choice. Chapter 631. Wu Ketian saw that Li Shanshan didn't want to talk, so he was impatient. He kicked Li Shanshan and said coldly, Li Shanshan, my patience is limited. If you want to test my patience, I'm sorry, but I don't have time to waste with you. Now, I want you to give me an answer. Are you going to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit or not? After being kicked twice by Wu Ketian, Li Shan's heart was suddenly filled with anger. A dignified Tiangongman's law protector was actually kicked twice by an outsider. This was simply unimaginable. Li Shan was a person with self-respect. After being kicked twice by Wu Ketian, he was already furious. After hearing Wu Ketian's question, he became even more furious. Li Shan fiercely raised his head and fiercely stared at Wu Ketian. He angrily said, "Wu Ketian, if you have the ability, then kill them. I don't believe that you dare to do this." After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian suddenly sneered. He squatted down and looked at Li Shan for a moment. He suddenly raised his hand and slapped Li Shan's face. He then said coldly, "Li Shan, do you think I dare to do this?" Wu Ketian's slap suddenly woke Li Shan up. The anger in his heart also disappeared without a trace. Instead, it was replaced by a feeling of fear. He was shrouded in fear. Now that he was seriously injured, there was no way for him to fight with Wu Ketian. At this point, no matter what he said, it was just asking for trouble. Maybe it would make Wu Ketian lose his mind and really kill him. If his skills were inferior to Wu Ketian's and he was killed, then Li Mingshan would have nothing to say. He could only accept his fate. After all, his martial arts were too low. However, Li Shan was unwilling to be killed by Wu Ketian in such a sullen way. If a dignified Tiangongman's law protector was killed in such a sullen way, once it was heard by others, he was afraid that even if he was killed, his reputation would be tarnished. The most important thing was that Li Shan felt that he still had too many things to accomplish. He was willing to die so early. The wine at home and the passing fifth concubine, all of these were waiting for him to go back and enjoy. If he was killed by Wu Ketian just like that, all these wonderful things would be taken advantage of by others. Thinking of the family business that he had painstakingly accumulated, it was all because he was killed by Wu Ketian, and it was taken away by someone else. Li Shan was even more unwilling. "No, I can't be hung up so easily. There are so many beautiful things waiting for me to enjoy. I must find a way to survive." Li Mingshan calmed himself down and whispered, "Wu Ketian, I promise you that I will go and kill Xuelingzi. Are you satisfied now?" Wu Ketian shook his head. "Li Mingshan, you're wrong. You don't need to kill Water Spirit, but you need to kill both Water Spirit and Fire Spirit." After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan's eyes suddenly widened. He no longer cared about being afraid and angrily said, "Wu Ketian, what did you say?" Wu Ketian smiled and shook his head. "Li Mingshan, you didn't hear wrong. I want you to kill both Water Spirit and Fire Spirit." After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan hurriedly shook his head. "No, I can't do that. Even if I do it, I can only kill one of Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. If you want me to kill both of them, I won't agree." When Wu Ketian heard this, he sneered and nodded. "Li Mingshan, I'll take it that I misheard you this time. I won't hold it against you." Speaking of this, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing. "Now, I'll ask you again. Are you going to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit or not?" Li Shan clenched his teeth and flatly refused. "No, I absolutely won't do that." Before Li Shan finished his words, he was slapped to the ground by Wu Ketian again. Wu Ketian withdrew his hand and asked with a sneer, "Li Mingshan, do you understand now?" Li Shan covered his face and struggled to sit up. Looking at Wu Ketian in front of him, his heart was filled with regret. It made his heart ache and even breathing became difficult. If he didn't play a trick and deliberately took Wu Ketian's punch to escape the situation, he wouldn't have been able to escape. However, Li Shan never thought that things would develop to this point. Truly, the evils that one brought upon themselves were the hardest to bear. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to scheme against Wu Ketian, he wouldn't have ended up like this. However, what's the use of regretting now? Things have already happened. Can he change anything? Li Shan clenched his teeth and looked at Wu Ketian without saying a word. When Wu Ketian saw this, he sneered. Li Shan, that hit just now didn't hurt right. Do you want me to hit you again so that you can feel it? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan suddenly snorted. Wu Ketian, do it. No matter what you say or do, I won't agree to this request. Li Mingshan naturally knew that if he killed the water spirit and the fire spirit, the situation would be completely irreversible. Just like what he thought, if Wu Ketian also thought the same, after he killed water spirit and fire spirit, they would turn against him and use this matter to threaten him. Then, his life would be worse than death. Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian was shocked. He didn't think that Li Shan would be so stubborn. However, no matter how stubborn Li Shan was, Wu Ketian didn't plan to let him go. Thinking of this, Wu Ketian fiercely kicked Li Shan's body. Li Shan was kicked and screamed. He rolled on the ground a few times before stabilizing his body. Lying on the ground, Li Shan only felt that the place where he was kicked by Wu Ketian was extremely painful. His whole body felt like it was falling apart. The pain from his broken arm almost made Li Shan faint. In a daze, Li Mingshan suddenly remembered that this was how he had treated water spirit and fire spirit just now. Li Mingshan couldn't remember how many times he had kicked water spirit and fire spirit. He only remembered that water spirit and fire spirit's legs were broken by him. Just as Li Shan thought of this, he suddenly felt a heavy weight on his leg. He was shocked and his mind suddenly became clear. Li Shan quickly turned his head. When he saw the situation behind him, he was extremely shocked. Wu Ketian had a cold smile on his face as he stepped on his leg. Li Shan, how does it taste? If you feel that it's not strong enough, then I'll let you taste something stronger. How about it, do you want to try it? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan was so shocked that his hair almost stood up. He naturally understood what Wu Ketian's words meant. Because all of this, he had already practiced it on water spirit and fire spirit. Chapter 632. Wu Ketian saw that Li Shan didn't answer his question and was a little annoyed. He snorted and slightly increased the strength of his foot. Li Shan screamed in pain. Wu Ketian, what are you doing? Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Shan, don't ask me what I'm doing. You should ask yourself what you should do to save your leg. Li Shan gritted his teeth and said, Wu Ketian, you're too cruel. You're so cruel to your own people. Do you have any conscience? Hearing Li Shan's question, Wu Ketian sneered and shook his head. Li Shan, don't talk to me about conscience. Everything I'm doing now is from you. If you didn't scheme against me at the beginning, how could things have come to this point? Li Shan, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself. You were the one who wanted to scheme against me first. Li Shan was in so much pain that his forehead was covered in cold sweat. His voice was trembling. Wu Ketian, don't step on my leg. Let's talk nicely. Wu Ketian heard this and nodded. He withdrew his foot and asked coldly, Li Shan, I'll talk nicely with you. Are you going to kill water spirit and fire spirit, or are you going to insist on going against me? Li Shan gritted his teeth and said while gasping for breath, Wu Ketian, we are in a cooperative relationship. If you cooperate with me, there are also benefits. If water spirit and fire spirit want me to fight, then wouldn't you be the one reaping the benefits? At this point, Li Shan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Wu Ketian's reply and continued to speak. I didn't want to do it, and you didn't want to do it. Now you want me to kill water spirit and fire spirit. Do you think I'll be willing to do it? Wu Ketian heard this and sneered. Li Shan, don't talk about just now. Just now, you wanted to scheme against me. Is your memory so bad that you forgot in such a short time? Li Shan shook his head. I didn't scheme against you. Everything was what you said. I didn't force you. Wu Ketian nodded. Then you're saying that I'm stupid and fell into your plan? Li Shan shook his head. I didn't say anything. You said it yourself. Hearing Li Shan's answer, Wu Ketian took a deep breath. Shan, just now, I'm stupid. I don't care. Li Shan immediately shook his head. I don't want to. Wu Ketian, you can't force me to do anything. Li Shan shook his head. I didn't, but I won't agree to it no matter what. Speaking up to here, Li Shan raised his head to look at Wu Ketian and suddenly sneered. Wu Ketian, if I agree to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, I'm afraid my end won't be good. When the time comes, you'll use this to blackmail me so that I won't get a single piece of equipment. Who knows, maybe I'll always be threatened by you. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian sneered. Li Shan, even if I want to use this to threaten you, so what? It's better than you being killed by me right now. At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to answer his question and continued to speak. Li Shan, think about it. There are too many beautiful things in this world that you haven't enjoyed yet. If you are killed by me, you will have nothing left. You won't be able to enjoy anything. At this point, Wu Ketian seemed to have thought of something. He turned his head and looked at Li Mingshui in the distance. Li Mingshui, I forgot that your brother is also in my hands. If you don't agree to my conditions, not only will you not be able to enjoy the beautiful things in this world, even your brother will not be able to enjoy them in the future. Are you really willing? Li Shan turned his head and looked at Li Mingshui in the distance. He clenched his teeth and said loudly, Wu Ketian, don't lie to me. If I really agree with you, I won't be able to enjoy anything because everything I want to enjoy will be taken away by you. At this point, Li Shan sighed. Instead of living like this, it's better to let you die. Wu Ketian sneered. Li Shan, have you really decided? Li Shan nodded. If you want me to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, I will never agree. Even if you want me to die, I won't agree to your conditions. Wu Ketian nodded. Li Shan, you mean, even if I kill Li Mingshui, you won't care? Li Shan turned his head and looked at the unconscious Li Mingshui in the distance. He sighed. Since I will be killed by you, how can I spare the energy to take care of Li Mingshui? You can do whatever you want. In short, if you want me to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, that is absolutely impossible. I will never do it. Hearing Li Shan's answer, Wu Ketian sneered and no longer spoke. He slowly walked toward Li Mingshui. Looking at Wu Ketian's back, Li Shan's eyes were bloodshot. He wanted to open his mouth to stop Wu Ketian, but when the words reached his mouth, they turned into a sigh. Right now, Li Shan was very clear about the situation. Wu Ketian wanted him to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. Then, just like what he had planned, Wu Ketian would use this matter to threaten him. At that time, the matter of the 6 pieces of equipment would be a small matter. Because Wu Ketian would have his weakness, and he might use it to threaten him for the rest of his life. However, these 6 pieces of level 20 equipment would definitely not be enough to satisfy Wu Ketian's appetite. At that time, no matter what he had, it would no longer be his. Rather than living like this, Li Shan would rather go all out. He was the godly sword faction's protector, so he still had a bit of dignity. Since Li Mingshan was determined to die, he knew that if he died, it would be impossible for Li Mingshui not to die. This was because Wu Ketian had already provoked him. Once Li Mingshui knew the truth, Wu Ketian would definitely face Li Mingshui's endless pursuit. Therefore, for safety's sake, as long as Wu Ketian killed himself, he would not let Li Shan live. Chapter 633. Wu Ketian quickly threw Li Mingshui in front of Li Mingshan. Li Mingshui was thrown to the ground and immediately cried out in pain. He woke up with a scream. Li Mingshui resisted the pain in his body and looked around in confusion. Suddenly, he saw Li Mingshan next to him. He was shocked and quickly asked, "Big brother, what happened?" Li Mingshan shook his head with a wry smile. "Li Mingshui, we all fell into Wu Ketian's hands." Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Li Mingshui looked at Wu Ketian in confusion. He didn't understand what had happened. Wu Ketian ignored Li Mingshui and looked at Li Mingshan. He smiled and asked, "Li Mingshan, what do you think? If you agree now, it won't be too late." Li Mingshan shook his head. "Wu Ketian, stop dreaming. I won't agree." Hearing Li Mingshan's answer, Wu Ketian nodded. Inadvertently, he suddenly raised his foot and stepped on Li Mingshan's leg. "Li Mingshan, do you agree this time?" Li Mingshui only felt a sharp pain coming from his leg. It was so painful that his forehead was covered in cold sweat. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, he resisted the pain in his leg and turned to look at Li Mingshan. He screamed, "Big brother, what happened? What happened to Wu Ketian?" Seeing Li Mingshui's painful expression, Li Mingshan sighed. "Li Mingshui, Wu Ketian wanted me to kill water spirit and fire spirit. I didn't agree, so he used you to threaten me." Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Li Mingshui wasn't a fool. He immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. After a while, he suddenly shouted, "Wu Ketian, you really are a bastard. Just now, everyone joined forces to deal with water spirit and fire spirit, but now you're going to deal with us. Are you even human?" Hearing Li Mingshui's words, Wu Ketian's gaze turned cold. He suddenly exerted more force on his leg, and Li Mingshui only felt a crisp sound from his leg. Immediately after, a heart-wrenching pain surged into his mind, causing his vision to darken, and he fainted again. Seeing Li Mingshui fainted from the pain, Li Mingshan felt like a knife was being twisted in his heart. He clenched his teeth and didn't make a sound. Wu Ketian sneered, "Li Mingshan, you're indeed stronger than water spirit. Just now, when we dealt with fire spirit, water spirit was scared. But you didn't care." Speaking up to hear, Wu Ketian's tone paused for a moment and then asked curiously, "Li Mingshan, tell me the truth, is Li Mingshui your brother?" Li Mingshan gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Wu Ketian, this is none of your business." Wu Ketian shook his head in admiration. "It seems that I guessed right. Li Mingshui really isn't your brother. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so indifferent when you saw Li Mingshui suffer. Li Mingshui, am I right?" Li Mingshan smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Wu Ketian, don't talk nonsense. What do you want to do? Hurry up and do it. Even if you kill us, I won't agree to your request. If I really agree to it, I'll definitely live a life worse than death." Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian froze for a moment. He thought that as long as he tortured Li Mingshui, Li Mingshan would definitely give in. But now, it seemed that his idea was wrong. This method was useless. Thinking up to here, Wu Ketian clenched his teeth. Suddenly, a smile appeared on his face. He squatted down, looked at Li Mingshan and sighed. "Li Mingshan, do you think I want to do this?" Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian paused for a moment. But then, he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to answer his question and continued. "Li Mingshan, you really don't know me. I'm doing this for everyone." After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan sneered, "Wu Ketian, don't talk nonsense. Did you torture us so miserably for everyone's sake?" Wu Ketian heard this and nodded. He turned to look at water spirit and fire spirit in the distance and slowly said, "Li Mingshan, I asked you to kill water spirit and fire spirit. You don't want to do it, right?" After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan froze for a moment and then angrily said, "Of course I don't want to. If I kill water spirit and fire spirit, then I will be under your control for the rest of my life." Wu Ketian shook his head and suddenly asked, "Li Mingshan, let me ask you, where are the Kikiaman people now?" Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan froze again and asked in confusion, "Wu Ketian, what do you mean?" Wu Ketian sighed, We've already wasted too much time. I think the Kikyaman people have already taken advantage of this time to move far away. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to speak and continued. Li Shan, do you think that with your injuries, you can catch up to the 7 skill sex people who have already gone far? Li Mingshan froze for a moment and then asked tentatively, Wu Ketian, are you saying that you want to chase after the Kikyaman people? Wu Ketian nodded and said with a bitter smile, you just said that if we want to solve this problem, water spirit and fire spirit, as well as the Kikyaman people who have already left, we can't let any of them go. You also know that for the sake of safety, both sides have to take action. This way we can avoid the trouble of threatening each other in the future. But if I kill water spirit and fire spirit, then the Kikyaman people will need to be dealt with by you two brothers. But, with your injuries, can you solve the Kikyaman problem? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan suddenly realized that Wu Ketian's words made sense. With their current strength, they definitely couldn't catch up to the Kikyaman people who had already left. Even if they could barely catch up to the Kikyaman people with their injuries, could they really kill the Kikyaman people? The two brothers didn't have much strength left. Each of them only had about 20 to 30% of their strength left. Even if the Kikyaman people were weak, it wouldn't be difficult for them to deal with them who only had about 20 to 30% of their strength left. Perhaps, if they really caught up, they wouldn't be able to solve the Kikyaman problem. Instead, they would be swarmed by the Kikyaman people and be killed by them. Could it be that this was what Wu Ketian meant? Wu Ketian wanted the two brothers to kill water spirit and fire spirit, then he would chase after the Kikyaman people and solve the Kikyaman problem. If this was really the case, then he had misunderstood Wu Ketian. This matter indeed needed both sides to do together. No matter which side did it alone, they would face the threat of being threatened by the other side. Everyone understood this, so they wouldn't do it. Chapter 634. Wu Ketian saw that Li Shan didn't answer, but from Li Shan's face, he could see that Li Shan agreed with him. Thinking of this, Wu Ketian sighed, Li Shan, if it were you, what would you do? At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to answer his question and continued to speak. Don't tell me you're going to kill water spirit and fire spirit, then kill the people from 7 possibilities sect? Speaking of this, Wu Ketian paused for a moment then continued, you wouldn't. You would definitely do the same thing as me. You would let me kill water spirit and fire spirit, and then you would go after Kikyaman's people. Li Shan, am I right? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan sighed, Wu Ketian, since you think so, why didn't you say so earlier? Hearing this, Wu Ketian sneered, Li Shan, if I said so earlier, would you have listened? Li Shan sighed, why wouldn't I listen? As long as what you said makes sense, I will listen. Wu Ketian sneered, so you also think that what I said makes sense? Li Shan hesitated for a moment, then slowly nodded, I admit that what you said makes sense. Hearing Li Shan's answer, Wu Ketian was overjoyed and hurriedly asked, Li Shan, since you think that what I said makes sense, are you willing to kill water spirit and fire spirit now? Hearing Wu Ketian's question, Li Shan raised his head, hesitated for a moment, then slowly said, Wu Ketian, although what you said makes sense, I don't trust you. If you play any tricks, then wouldn't I be the one to suffer? Wu Ketian sighed, Li Shan, now that things have come to this, don't you understand that cooperation is the best for us? Do you think that I haven't thought of this? Li Shan shook his head, smiled bitterly and said, I don't know, I'm just worried that you will lie to me again. Wu Ketian shook his head, Li Shan, don't worry, I will never lie to you. Li Shan sighed, if you want to lie to me, when I kill water spirit and fire spirit, won't it be too late to regret? Hearing Li Shan's answer, Wu Ketian hurriedly shook his head. No, just like what we just said, you kill water spirit and fire spirit, and Kikyaman's people, let me deal with them, that's fair. Right. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan hesitated again. He thought about it carefully, and after confirming that Wu Ketian couldn't play any tricks, he slowly nodded. Wu Ketian Shan, you swear, you will never lie. Shan 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 Shan, Shan Shan Shan, Shan Shan, Shan Shan Shan, even if I make 100s 100s, Shan, even if I 100. Shan Shan Shans, you make swear shants Shan Tian Tianza A's. SS Shan is hearing Li Shan Shan Shan's insistence, Wu Ketian helplessly nodded, and could only swear in front of Li Shan Shan. Hearing Wu Ketian's oath, Li Shan Shan nodded. Wu Ketian, I promise you, I will kill water spirit and fire spirit now, and Kikyaman's matter, I'll leave it to you? Wu Ketian hurriedly nodded. Li Shan Shan, don't worry, although I'm injured now, it's still easy for me to deal with Kikyaman. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian's tone paused, turned to look at Li Shan Shan and asked with concern, Li Shan Shan, you are seriously injured. Do you want me to help you? Li Shan Shan bitterly smiled and shook his head. It's okay, I should be able to walk to Water Spirit's side. As he spoke, Li Mingshan slowly stood up. However, he was heavily injured after all. As soon as he stood up, he felt dizzy and staggered. If it wasn't for Wu Ketian who quickly supported him, he would have fallen to the ground again. Li Mingshan reached out and held his forehead. After calming down, he pushed away Wu Ketian's hand and slowly walked towards Xuelingzi. Water Spirit and Fire Spirit were also heavily injured. Although Wu Ketian and Li Mingshan agreed to let them go, their injuries were too heavy. It was impossible for them to leave. Just as Water Spirit and Fire Spirit were about to focus on healing their wounds, they suddenly saw Li Mingshan and Wu Ketian fighting. After an intense battle, the Li brothers were all heavily injured, and Wu Kedi was still unconscious. Just when Water Spirit and Fire Spirit were still in shock, they saw Wu Ketian bring Li Mingshui to Li Mingshan's side. Then, a familiar scene played out. Wu Ketian stepped on Li Mingshui's leg, and after saying a few words, he increased his strength and broke Li Mingshui's leg. Seeing this scene, Water Spirit subconsciously looked at Fire Spirit and immediately remembered the scene where Li Mingshui broke Fire Spirit's leg. Water Spirit was overjoyed. She kept praying for these two demons to kill each other. It would be best if both sides were injured. But not long after, Xuelingzi saw Li Shan Shan stand up and stumble over to her. Seeing Li Mingshan walking over, Water Spirit was shocked. A bone-piercing chill suddenly rose from the bottom of her heart and instantly enveloped her whole body. A bad idea appeared in her mind. What is Li Mingshan doing? Water Spirit soon found out the answer. Li Mingshan didn't take 2 steps and bent down to pick up the saber on the ground. Then, he continued to walk towards her with the saber in his hand. Seeing this cold steel blade, Xuelingzi was horrified. She stared at Li Mingshan, wishing that Li Mingshan would quickly stop and not come over to her side. Li Mingshan slowly walked in front of Water Spirit and grinned. Water Spirit, do you know why I'm here? Hearing Li Mingshan's words, cold sweat suddenly appeared on Water Spirit's forehead. It wasn't that she didn't think of this ending, but she thought that Wu Ketian and Li Mingshan had already made a vow and wouldn't do anything to her. What's more, he'd already agreed to push all the blame onto the 7 Skills sect. Furthermore, he'd promised him that he wouldn't divulge this secret. Could it be that they still wouldn't let her go after all this? Thinking of this, Water Spirit clenched her teeth and asked, Li Mingshan, do you want to leave? Hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Mingshan nodded. Water Spirit, you're right. We're leaving. Speaking of this, Li Mingshan paused for a moment before continuing, but before we leave, there's still one more thing to do. Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Water Spirit was even more shocked. Water Spirit calmed herself down and slowly asked, Li Mingshan, what else do you want to do? Looking at the heavily injured Shui Lingzi, Li Mingshan suddenly thought of himself. Both of them were seriously injured, and both of them were threatened by others. Thinking of this, Li Mingshan secretly sighed and then slowly said, "Water Spirit, don't blame me. To tell you the truth, leaving you here is a big trouble. I came here to solve this problem." Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Water Spirit hurriedly shook her head. "Li Mingshan, didn't we already agree that as long as we don't say anything and push all the blame to Kikyaman, wouldn't this matter be over?" Hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Mingshan shook his head. "Water Spirit, even if we push all the blame to Kikyaman, if the Tiangongmen find Kikyaman's people and ask for details, Kikyaman's people will naturally tell us what happened today." Speaking of this, Li Mingshan sighed. "Kikyaman's strength is very weak. No one will believe that Kikyaman can defeat all of us. At that time, as long as the Tiangongmen carefully interrogate us, they will naturally be able to determine the truth of this matter. At that time, not to mention us, even you and Water Spirit will suffer." After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Water Spirit's heart was suddenly startled. She quickly shook her head and said, "Li Mingshan, don't worry, as long as we don't say anything, no one will know." Speaking of this, Water Spirit's tone paused for a moment before she continued, "Moreover, you just said that as long as I write the contract, you will chase after Kikyaman's people and kill them. At the same time, you will let us go. Now, do you want to go back on your words?" Li Mingshan sighed. "Kikyaman must be killed, but keeping you alive will always be a problem. If one day you are unhappy and say something about this matter, then wouldn't we be in trouble?" Just as Li Mingshan said this, Wu Ketian also came to his side. After hearing this sentence, he sneered. "Water Spirit, just accept your fate. Now that things have reached this point, you should be very clear that since we already know that you are trouble, why would we leave any trouble for ourselves?" Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian's tone suddenly turned cold. "Water Spirit, don't blame us for being ruthless. From the very beginning, you and Fire Spirit had to die. This is for everyone's good, don't you think so?" Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Water Spirit's eyes were already red with anger. She fiercely stared at Wu Ketian and angrily said, "Wu Ketian, I really didn't think that even after I wrote the contract, you still wouldn't let us go. You are too heartless." Wu Ketian didn't refute. He just turned his head and silently nodded to Li Mingshan, indicating that he should hurry up. Seeing this, Li Mingshan secretly sighed. He turned his head to look at Water Spirit and said with a bitter smile, "Water Spirit, don't blame me. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, I can only do this." After saying this, Li Mingshan used his only intact arm and slowly raised the shining steel sword. Shui Lingzi looked at the gleaming steel blade, and a sense of sadness rose in her heart. Just yesterday, she was still a high-status consecrator of the Tiangongmen. But in just one day, she became a fish in the hands of others. How sad! If she didn't take the initiative to come here and capture Kikyaman, how could this happen? Thinking of this, Water Spirit's intestines almost turned green with regret. If she didn't come here, then nothing would have happened. It was all her fault for overestimating herself. She thought that with just her and Fire Spirit, it would be easy to take down Kikyaman. But she never thought that these shameless people would appear. First was the appearance of the godly sword sex Yin Dao, which had already caused Shui Lingzi a great deal of trouble. She had spent a great deal of effort to get rid of Yin Dao and had thought that things had gone smoothly, but she had never imagined that an even greater crisis was waiting for her. Shadowless, Wu Ketian, Li Mingshan, and even Lin Wudai and Wu Lai. These people weren't good people. These hateful people, each more ruthless than the last. For a few pieces of equipment, not only did they beat her and her brother up so badly, they still didn't want to let them go. They were simply inhuman. Just as Water Spirit was filled with regret, Fire Spirit suddenly shouted, "Li Mingshan, you bad guy. If you have the guts, then make a move on me. If I even frown, then I'll change my surname to yours. Hearing Fire Spirit's words, Li Mingshan's face changed. He sneered and looked at Fire Spirit. Okay, since you want to leave first, then I'll fulfill your request. Seeing that Li Mingshan was about to make a move, Water Spirit suddenly shouted, Li Mingshan, stop. I have something to ask you. Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Li Mingshan frowned, turning to Shui Lingzi and asking in a cold voice. Water Spirit, now that things have reached this point, do you have anything to say? Speaking up to hear, Li Mingshan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Water Spirit to speak and continued. Water Spirit, let me tell you. Even if you want to beg for mercy now, it's useless. I've already said it very clearly. Leaving you two brothers alive is always a problem. If I don't kill you now, then you'll find trouble with me sooner or later. So, if you want to beg for mercy, then don't say anything. Hearing this, Water Spirit took a deep breath and slowly said, Li Mingshan, I suddenly found a problem. The only one who wants to make a move is yourself. Aren't you afraid? Hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Mingshan froze for a moment. Then, he sneered and said, Water Spirit, what do I have to be afraid of? I think the one who should be afraid is you. Water Spirit shook her head. Li Mingshan, I'm really afraid now, but I'm only afraid for a while. As for you, as long as you kill me and Fire Spirit, although you'll solve some problems, don't you realize that there will be bigger problems waiting for you? Hearing Water Spirit's words, Wu Ketian suddenly shouted, Li Mingshan, why aren't you making a move? We don't have much time left. If you don't make a move, once someone comes, then we'll be in trouble. Hearing this, Li Mingshan froze for a moment. Then, he smiled and said, Wu Ketian, Water Spirit is about to be killed by us. Even if he says a few more words, what can he do? Speaking up to hear, Li Mingshan paused for a moment. Then, he turned to look at Water Spirit and sneered, Water Spirit, since you're about to be killed, you can say whatever you want. Chapter 635. Water Spirit looked at Li Shan and slowly said, Li Shan, even if you kill my Fire Spirit, have you not thought about what you will face? Li Shan heard this and shook his head. If you only want to say this, then I advise you not to. I already have a plan in mind. Shui Lingzi suddenly sneered, Plans? What plans do you have? If you really kill me and Huoling, do you think this matter will be over? Speaking up to hear, Water Spirit paused for a moment, but then she didn't wait for Li Shan to answer her and continued. Li Shan, let me tell you, this is impossible. No matter what mistake I made, as long as you kill me and Fire Spirit, the Tiangongmen will definitely avenge us. At that time, even if you are the protector of the godly sword sect, you will still be hunted down by the Tiangongmen. Li Shan, do you think this matter can be hidden? Impossible, the Tiangongmen will find out sooner or later, and you will pay the price for this. Hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Shan shook his head and lightly said, Water Spirit, don't try to scare me. If I kill you and Fire Spirit, who will tell others that I killed you and Fire Spirit? Water Spirit, you can go in peace. This secret will disappear with you forever, and no one will know about it. Hearing Li Shan's answer, Water Spirit sneered. Li Shan, look at who is standing next to you. If you kill me and Fire Spirit, Wu Ketian next to you will have a hold on you and will make you live under his threat for the rest of your life. Li Shan, think about it carefully. Do you want to live a life of being threatened by others, or do you want to take a step back? After Wu Ketian heard Shui Lingzi's words, he couldn't bear it anymore and snapped, Shui Lingzi, don't try to quibble over there. I've already agreed with Li Mingshan that we're in a cooperative relationship. I'll never tell this secret to anyone. Speaking up to hear, Wu Ketian turned to look at Li Shan and loudly asked, Li Shan, will you tell this secret? Li Shan lightly shook his head. Of course I won't. Do you think I want to find trouble for myself? Upon hearing this, Wu Ketian immediately threw his head back and laughed heartily. Shui Lingzi, did you hear that? As long as Li Mingshan and I keep this secret will never be known by the Heaven's Craftsman faction. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan once again slowly raised his blade. Seeing this, Shui Lingzi suddenly broke out in cold sweat. He hurriedly waved his hand at Li Mingshan and said loudly, Li Shan, you can't do it. If you do, you will live under the threat of Wu Kutian forever. Li Shan shook his head and faintly said, Shan, if you have something else to say, I'm sorry, I will. While speaking, the veins on Li Shan's hand suddenly bulged, and he was about to swing his blade. Seeing this, Water Spirit immediately shouted, Li Shan, you are confused. If Wu Kutian sincerely wants to cooperate with you, why didn't he do it? Why did he let you do it alone? Li Shan froze for a moment and then nodded. Water Spirit, since you want to know, I will tell you. Speaking up to here, Li Shan paused for a moment and then continued, Water Spirit, I will deal with you too, and Wu Kutian will deal with the Kikiaman people. Humph, as long as the two of us work together to kill all of you, then this matter will be foolproof. Li Shan looked down at Water Spirit and coldly said, Water Spirit, this time you have nothing to say, right? Hearing this, Water Spirit hurriedly waved her hand. Li Shan, you have been fooled. The Kikiaman people have been gone for so long, do you think Wu Kutian will be able to catch up with them? Hearing Water Spirit's question, Li Shan slowly shook his head. Water Spirit, you don't need to worry about this matter. Wu Kutian naturally has a way to deal with the Kikiaman people. You should be on your way as soon as possible. Hearing this, Water Spirit hurriedly shouted, Li Shan, think about it. If Wu Kutian doesn't deal with the Kikiaman people, then your matter will be known by others sooner or later. The most important thing is that the person who killed me and Fire Spirit is you, not Wu Kutian. Even if the Tiangongman people know about this, they will only look for you and not Wu Kutian. Don't you understand? Speaking up to here, Water Spirit's tone paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Li Shan to reply and continued. Moreover, since Wu Kutian told you to kill me and Fire Spirit first, then if you kill me and Fire Spirit, then Wu Kutian will use this matter to threaten you to continue killing the Kikiaman people. At that time, what will you do? Hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Shan was stunned. He turned his head and looked at Wu Kutian in confusion. Seeing this, Wu Kutian hurriedly waved his hand. Li Shan, do you believe Water Spirit's words? Li Shan looked at Wu Kutian for a while, then slowly said, Wu Kutian, I think what Water Spirit said is reasonable. If I kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, then you use this matter to threaten me to continue killing the Kikiaman people, then what should I do? Speaking up to here, Li Shan's tone paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Wu Kutian to reply and continued. At that time, you'll have a handle on me. I can only listen to you and continue to kill the people of the Seven Skills sect. In the end, all the bad things will be done by me, Li Mingshan, while you didn't do anything. Even if the Heaven's Craftsman sect investigates, you won't be held responsible. Wu Kutian, tell me, is this true or not? Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Kutian was stunned for a moment, but his mind was quickly thinking about how to answer Li Shan's words. That's right, this was what Wu Kutian was thinking. Just like Li Shan said, he wanted to trick Li Shan into killing Water Spirit and Fire Spirit first. Then, once he had the first weakness of Li Shan, he could use it to threaten Li Shan into killing the people from the Seven Skills sect. If things really went according to Wu Kutian's plan, then Wu Kutian wouldn't need to do anything to get all the equipment, and even Li Shan and Li Mingshui would have to serve Wu Kutian forever. Because Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, and even the Kikiaman people, were all killed by Li Shan, this was a huge weakness, Even if Li Shan wanted to resist, he wouldn't dare to. As long as Wu Kutian revealed this secret, even if Li Shan and Li Mingshui were the protectors of the godly sword sect, they wouldn't be able to stop the continuous pursuit of the Tiangongmen. Wu Kutian calmed down, smiled and said, Li Shan, water spirit knows he's finished, so he dares to say anything. Do you really believe what he said at this time? Li Shan shook his head. Wu Kutian, why wouldn't I believe him? What he said is reasonable. As long as I kill water spirit and fire spirit, you can use this to blackmail me. If I don't listen to you, you will immediately tell this secret to the Tiangongmen, and at that time, the unlucky one will be me. After hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Kutian sighed and slowly said, Li Shan, since you doubt me, then we can exchange. I'll kill water spirit and fire spirit. Speaking up to here, Wu Kutian paused, then continued, but, Li Shan, you also know that we are in a cooperative relationship, so this matter has to be done by the two of us. Since I killed water spirit and fire spirit, then the rest of the Kikyaman people will be up to you to deal with. Wu Kutian looked at Li Shan and asked word by word, Li Shan, can you do it? After hearing Wu Kutian's words, Li Shan was stunned for a moment. He suddenly realized that he had no other choice. He could barely reach water spirit, but with his current strength, he definitely couldn't catch up with the Kikyaman people. Li Shan knew this, and he also knew that he definitely couldn't catch up with the Kikyaman people, but water spirit's words were too reasonable. Once he killed water spirit and fire spirit, then there would be endless trouble, and he would never have the chance to make a comeback. Seeing that Li Shan didn't answer his question, Wu Kutian impatiently asked, Li Shan, what do you want? Right now there are two problems, one is water spirit, and the other is Kikyaman people. It's too unfair to let one person do it, it has to be done by the two of us. Now, give me a straight answer, do you want to kill water spirit and fire spirit, or do you want to chase after the Kikyaman people? Hearing this, Li Shan turned his head to look at Wu Kutian. He was stunned for a moment, then he tentatively asked, Wu Kutian, can you kill water spirit and fire spirit first, then let me meditate for a while, and then I'll immediately chase after the Kikyaman people, what do you think? Wu Kutian sneered and shook his head. Li Shan, if you were me, tell me honestly, would you agree? Hearing Wu Kutian's words, Li Shan powerlessly lowered his head. Just like Li Shan said, if it were him, he definitely wouldn't agree to such a request. Seeing that Li Shan didn't speak again, Wu Kutian sighed. Li Shan, don't think too much. Now that the two of us are in the same boat, if something happens, you and I won't be able to escape. Right now, the two of us are killing water spirit and Kikyaman people to strengthen our cooperation. But you, Li Shan, always want to take advantage of the situation. You want me to kill them all, then you can just sit back and enjoy the fruits of my labor. Isn't this a bit too disloyal? Hearing this, Li Shan hurriedly shook his head. Wu Kutian, it's not like this, I wanted to cooperate with you from the beginning, but you misunderstood me first, so you injured me, and the misunderstanding between us started from that time. Now, after hearing what Water Spirit said, I also have some doubts. If you really think like this, then I really can't do anything to you. Wu Kutian, please understand my difficulties, let me think about it. Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Kutian shook his head and sneered. Li Shan, when are you going to think about it? Do you want someone to pass by on the road? Speaking up to here, Wu Kutian paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Li Shan to answer his question, and continued to speak. If someone really passes by on the road, then all our plans will be ruined. Li Shan, you better make a decision quickly. I can't wait that long. After hearing Wu Kutian's words, without waiting for Li Shan to answer, Water Spirit who was lying on the ground shouted, Li Shan, you can't listen to Wu Kutian. He's obviously trying to deceive you. I can guarantee that although he's smiling now, as long as you kill me in fire spirit, his face will immediately change. At that time, I'm afraid I don't need to tell you what will happen to you, you should know better than me." Hearing water spirit's words, Li Shan hesitated even more. He kept thinking about how to guarantee Wu Kutian's word. When Wu Kutian heard Shui Lingzi's words, he immediately flew into a rage and kicked Shui Lingzi away as he roared. "Water spirit, so much nonsense, I'm tired of listening to it." Water spirit screamed from the kick. She fell 2 to 3 meters away, fell to the ground, and screamed continuously. Looking at the screaming water spirit on the ground, Li Shan's brows wrinkled even more. Just now, Wu Ketian had used all of the benefits he had received from water spirit on him. Could Wu Ketian's words be trusted? Should she believe water spirit or Wu Ketian? On the side, fire spirit saw that water spirit was kicked away. He suddenly became angry. He turned to look at Li Shan and shouted loudly, "Li Shan, what kind of person is Wu Kutian, don't you see? He's a villain. If you kill me and water spirit now, you will definitely fall into Wu Kutian's hands." Speaking up to hear, fire spirit's tone paused. He coldly snorted, then continued, "When you fall into Wu Kutian's hands, I'm afraid you won't even have time to cry. You just wait and see. The end of me and water spirit will be the end of you and Li Shan." After hearing fire spirit's words, Li Shan's heart became more hesitant. His eyes kept flickering, and his heart became even more panicked. The current situation, Li Shan was very clear. The strongest person was Wu Kutian, the rest of the people were almost crippled. It could be said that except for Wu Kutian, all of them had lost their fighting strength. If he killed water spirit and fire spirit, Li Shan gradually realized that it would be like what water spirit said. Wu Kutian would threaten him to chase after Kikyaman's people. At that time, he could only attack again and kill all of Kikyaman's people. And in this life, he would always be under Wu Kutian's control. However, although Li Shan understood this truth, he had no way to resist. Wu Kutian was the strongest. If he wanted to resist, it was almost impossible. But if he stepped into the trap, Li Shan was somewhat unwilling. After so many years of cultivation and hard work, he finally became the protector of godly sword sect. Could it be that he was going to be killed so easily? Chapter 636. Wu Ketian turned to Li Shan and asked with a smile, "Li Shan, what do you think? Do you want to chase after Kikyaman's people, or do you want to kill Shui Lingzi now?" Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing, "Li Shan, you are free to choose, I will not interfere. I only have one request, you must choose between Kikyaman and Shui Lingzi." Hearing Wu Ketian's question, Li Shan clenched his teeth. "Wu Ketian, if I choose to go after Kikyaman's people, what will you do?" Wu Ketian shook his head indifferently. "Whatever, you only need to choose one." Wu Ketian paused for a moment and turned to look at Li Shan before continuing, "But, do you really think that you can catch up with Kikyaman's people?" Li Shan sighed, "I will focus on healing now. I believe that after half an hour, I will be able to recover a little. At that time, I will immediately chase after Kikyaman's people. I believe that it will not be a problem." Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian shook his head. "Li Shan, then tell me, in half an hour, how far will Kikyaman's people go?" This. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan was speechless for a moment, unable to answer Wu Ketian's question. It's not that he didn't want to answer, but that he couldn't. Li Shan had been in the Jianghu for many years. He naturally knew how far he could travel in half an hour. Whether it was riding a horse, riding a carriage, or even walking, Li Shan could accurately estimate how far he could travel in half an hour. But he couldn't say it now, because in half an hour, he could cover a very long distance. It could even be said that if Kikyaman's people came to a fork in the road in half an hour, then Li Shan wouldn't be able to find Kikyaman's people in half an hour. Wu Ketian didn't get angry when Li Mingshan didn't answer his question. He smiled and said, Li Mingshan, although you don't answer my question, I'm sure you know how far Kikyaman's people will go in half an hour. Wu Ketian suddenly sighed, Li Mingshan, it's not that I want to make things difficult for you, but I have no other choice. If I kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit here, and you can't catch up with Kikyaman's people, then wouldn't my efforts be in vain? At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing, You wasted my time, but that's not important. The most important thing is that you wasted our time. Once you let Kikyaman's people go, even if I kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, I'm afraid we won't be able to keep this secret. Once Tiangongmen's people know about this, I'm telling you, I won't be the only unlucky one. You, Li Mingshan, won't be able to escape either. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan secretly sighed. He looked up at Wu Ketian and slowly said, Wu Ketian, I understand what you're saying, but I'm seriously injured right now. Even if I force myself to chase after them, I'm afraid I won't be able to catch up. I can only delay them for a little while before I chase after Kikyaman's people. Wu Ketian heard this and suddenly sneered. Li Mingshan, you said it too easily. What do you mean by a little while? How long is it? Is it a breath's time or a cup of tea's time? As long as you can adjust your internal strength in these 2 seconds, I'll let you deal with Kikyaman's people. Li Mingshan, what do you think? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan sighed. Wu Ketian, don't make it difficult for me. How can it be so easy to adjust my internal strength? Wu Ketian turned his head and looked at Li Mingshan. He suddenly asked loudly, Since you can't, why don't you hurry up and kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit? Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian paused for a moment. But then, without waiting for Li Mingshan to answer his question, he suddenly sneered. I understand. You're playing with me. You want to use me to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit while you heal on the side. Once you're healed, you'll threaten me, right? Hearing Wu Ketian's question, Li Mingshan hurriedly waved his hand. Wu Ketian, why would I think that? I really just want to cooperate with you to solve this problem. I don't have any other thoughts. Wu Ketian sneered. Since you don't have any other thoughts, why don't you do it? This time, without waiting for Li Mingshan to speak, Fire Spirit suddenly said loudly, Because Li Mingshan isn't stupid. He knows that as long as he kills the 2 of us, this weakness will fall into your hands. At that time, Li Mingshan will definitely be out of luck. When Wu Ketian heard Fire Spirit's words, he sneered and turned to look at Fire Spirit. After a while, he suddenly kicked out and sent Fire Spirit flying. Fire Spirit screamed in pain and flew out. He coincidentally smashed into Water Spirit's body. The 2 of them screamed in pain at the same time. After Wu Ketian kicked Fire Spirit away, he turned his head and looked at Li Mingshan. He smiled and said, Li Mingshan, hurry up and make a decision. We don't have much time. If someone really comes, I'm afraid we'll be in even more trouble. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan looked at the screaming Water Spirit and Fire Spirit in the distance and sighed. Wu Ketian, I don't believe you, but I also want to believe you. Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan's tone paused for a moment before he continued, Since this matter is going to be done by the 2 of us, why don't we both do it at the same time? What do you think? After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian was stunned for a moment. Li Mingshan, what do you want to say? Hurry up and say it. Li Mingshan nodded and looked at Water Spirit and Fire Spirit in the distance. He slowly said, Since Water Spirit and Fire Spirit are 2 people, and you and I are 2 people, why don't we each kill one of us? What do you think? Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan's tone paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Wu Ketian to reply and continued. If we do this, the two of us will do it at the same time, so we don't have to worry about the other side catching us. What do you think? After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian was stunned for a moment, then he shook his head. No, if we both kill water spirit and fire spirit at the same time, wouldn't I suffer a big loss? Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian's tone paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to reply and continued. If I kill either water spirit or fire spirit, then I chase after Kikyaman's people and kill Kikyaman's people, but you only kill water spirit. Wu Ketian continued, Li Mingshan, you only kill one person, but I have to kill water spirit and chase after Kikyaman's people. I won't say much about the hardships, but I just want to ask you, if you were me, would you do it? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan was stunned for a moment, then he shook his head with a wry smile. I wouldn't, if it were me, I wouldn't agree to this request. Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan paused for a moment, then he continued, but now I'm seriously injured. Wu Ketian, you have to put in a bit more effort. I will definitely repay you in the future. What do you think? After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian sighed. Li Mingshan, it's not that I don't want to agree, but this matter is very important, I have to be careful. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, then he continued, if you ask me for something else, I definitely won't refuse and will do my best to help you, but for this matter, please forgive me for not being able to help you. Li Mingshan frowned. Wu Ketian, although I didn't do as much as you, but I still did. Naturally, I don't have anything that can be used against you. Although you put in a bit more effort now, but if something really happens, the two of us will have to bear the responsibility. Speaking up to here, Li Mingshan paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Wu Ketian to reply and continued. Wu Ketian, how about this? There are a total of 6 pieces of equipment. Originally, each of us would have 3 pieces of equipment, but now that you've done it, I'll give you 1 piece of equipment, so you'll get 4 pieces of level 20 equipment. I only need 2 pieces of level 20 equipment. Wu Ketian, how about this? Wu Ketian shook his head and bitterly smiled. Li Mingshan, how about this? I'll also give you 4 pieces of equipment, and you'll also make more. What do you think? Li Mingshan shook his head. I'm already heavily injured. Even if I kill one person, it'll be very difficult. If I make more, it'll definitely be impossible. Hearing Li Mingshan's answer, Wu Ketian suddenly sneered. Li Mingshan, don't lie to me. Even if you still have your strength, you definitely won't do this. I can guarantee that you'll only make less, and definitely not more than what you're doing now. Hearing this, Li Shan hurriedly shook his head. That won't happen. If I still had my strength, I would have immediately chased after the 7 skills sex people. I definitely wouldn't be here bargaining with you. Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Mingshan, we're all smart people. There's no point in lying. Let's talk about something more practical. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian paused for a bit before continuing. Li Mingshan, you're heavily injured right now. Even if I want you to chase after Kikyaman's people, it'll be impossible. So, you can only kill water spirit and fire spirit. As for Kikyaman's people, I'll take care of them. Right now, besides this, there's no other way. Li Mingshan, you don't need to say any more. Hurry up and do it. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan hesitated even more. Looking at water spirit and fire spirit, he didn't know what to do. Just like what fire spirit said, if he killed water spirit and fire spirit himself, Wu Ketian would be able to keep his word and this matter would be a success. But if Wu Ketian didn't keep his promise, then after seeing him kill water spirit and fire spirit, he would immediately turn hostile and use this matter to threaten him. What should he do then? Thinking up to here, Li Mingshan didn't know what to do. Although he saw through Wu Ketian's intentions, Wu Ketian only used 1 sentence to push him back. Wu Ketian knew that he was heavily injured and couldn't chase after Kikyaman's people. So he was very calm and took the initiative to let him choose. But did he have a choice? There were two problems. One was water spirit and fire spirit in front of him, and the other was Kikyaman, who had already left. If the two of them cooperated, then he had to do something. If he didn't kill water spirit and fire spirit, then he had to chase after Kikyaman's people. In short, he had to get rid of a group of people. Did he have a choice? Other than killing water spirit and fire spirit, he had no way to chase after Kikyaman's people. Could it be that he really had to kill water spirit and fire spirit? But what if Wu Ketian didn't keep his promise? Then wouldn't he be controlled by him for the rest of his life? Thinking up to here, Li Mingshan turned to Wu Ketian and bitterly said, "Wu Ketian, how about this? I'll give you 5 pieces of level 20 equipment, and I'll only keep 1 level 20 equipment. I only hope that you can do one more thing for me." Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian couldn't help but sneer. Wu Ketian didn't want to lose either water spirit or fire spirit. In fact, Wu Ketian didn't even plan to make a move against the 7 possibilities sex people. With Li Mingshan here, how could Wu Ketian do anything? Moreover, Li Mingshan had already killed water spirit and fire spirit. This was a huge weakness. Wu Ketian had already calculated that as long as Li Mingshan killed water spirit and fire spirit, then he would be Wu Ketian's to use for the rest of his life. Compared to the 6 pieces of level 20 equipment, the use of the Li brothers wouldn't be any lower. In fact, they might even be slightly better. Having 2 experts like Li Mingshan at his disposal, how wonderful would that be? Wu Ketian felt a wave of comfort in his heart just thinking about it. Thinking about how Li Mingshan would completely listen to him in the future and do things according to what he said, Wu Ketian was filled with anticipation. After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian pondered for a bit before slowly saying, "Li Mingshan, why don't you believe me? You know that when we go to the Tiangongmen to ask for equipment, I'll need your help. If you don't help me, then I might not be able to get any equipment back. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? Moreover, there's still Shadowless hiding in the shadows. Moreover, he also has a contract. Without your help, it won't be easy to defeat Shadowless. Li Mingshan, look, I still have so many things that I need your help with. Why would I lie to you?" Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian paused for a bit. However, he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to reply and continued speaking. "If I lie to you and you don't help me, then I will suffer a great loss. So, please don't worry. You just need to kill water spirit and fire spirit. You don't need to worry about anything else. Just focus on healing." Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian pointed at Li Mingshui and smiled. "Li Mingshan, don't hesitate. Hurry up and do it." Chapter 637. Wu Ketian continued, "Li Mingshan, quickly kill water spirit and fire spirit, and then quickly treat Li Mingshui's injuries. You also know that with this kind of injury, the faster it is treated, the better it will recover. If you delay it for too long, it might leave some sequelae, and you might regret it for the rest of your life. Li Mingshui, don't hesitate. Water spirit and fire spirit are right in front of you. You only need to move your hand, and 2 slashes will be enough to kill both of them, and everything will be over. Isn't that good?" Listening to Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan turned his head and looked at Li Mingshui. He knew that Wu Ketian was right. The injury must be treated as soon as possible to recover completely. Otherwise, it would be very easy to leave behind sequelae. Just like Yin Dao. Even if he wasn't killed by others, with his injuries and the fact that he hadn't been treated for so long, even if he recovered, he would be crippled. Li Mingshan didn't want Li Mingshui's martial arts to be crippled, but he also didn't want to kill water spirit and fire spirit. He wasn't afraid of falling into Wu Ketian's trap. If Wu Ketian got hold of his weakness, then everything would be over. Thinking of this, Li Mingshan sighed. "Wu Ketian, let's discuss. If I quit, will you let me go?" Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian's eyes suddenly froze. After a while, he slightly frowned and asked, Li Mingshan, do you really want to quit? Hearing Wu Ketian's question, Li Mingshan bitterly nodded. Wu Ketian, I really want to quit. I don't want to participate in this matter anymore. If possible, you can do it yourself. Li Mingshui and I will leave. What do you think? Wu Ketian looked at Li Mingshan with bright eyes. After a while, he slowly asked, Li Mingshan, what do you think? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan bitterly smiled and shook his head. You won't. Even if I want to quit, I'm afraid you won't let me go. Speaking of this, Li Mingshan's tone paused, and then he continued, But I really want to quit now. I'm already regretting coming here. Although we can get some equipment, we've paid too much. Even now, we still have to face such a choice. Wu Ketian, to be honest, I don't want to choose anymore. I want to withdraw from this matter, completely withdraw from this matter, and never think about it again. At this point, Li Shan suddenly raised his head and looked at the sneering Wu Ketian. With a hint of pleading in his voice, he said, Wu Ketian, I beg you, let me go. I promise I won't tell anyone about this. No matter what you do, no one will know about what happened today. Wu Ketian, what do you think? I can make an oath. As long as you are satisfied, I can make any oath. After listening to Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian slowly shook his head and suddenly sighed. Li Shan, your thinking is too simple. Do you think that you can withdraw just because you want to? It's not that easy in this world. Speaking up to this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing, Li Mingshan, from the moment we started, there was no turning back. We must continue to work hard to move forward in order to get what we want. But if you want to withdraw, I'm afraid that not only will you not get what you want, but Paul will also make you fall into an irrecoverable situation. Wu Ketian pointed at Water Spirit and Fire Spirit in the distance, then turned to Li Mingshan and sneered. Li Mingshan, do you see that? Water Spirit and Fire Spirit are in a pitiful state right now, but I can guarantee that as soon as they recover, they will definitely come to us like hungry wolves to settle their account. Li Shan, do you think that you can escape from Water Spirit and Fire Spirit's revenge? We have already beaten up Water Spirit and Fire Spirit so badly. Even if you kneel down and beg for mercy, I'm afraid that Water Spirit and Fire Spirit won't let you go. Li Shan, you should give up. Even if I want you to withdraw, there are people who won't let you do so. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan was stunned for a moment, then he said loudly, No, Wu Ketian, I know that even if I withdraw, you won't let Water Spirit and Fire Spirit go. At that time, as long as you kill them, what trouble will I have? Speaking of this, Li Shan's tone paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Wu Ketian to answer him, and continued to speak. Wu Ketian, as long as you promise to let me go, I won't have any trouble. Wu Ketian, just let me withdraw. I don't want to do this anymore. Hearing Li Shan's words, Wu Ketian sneered. Li Shan, if you withdraw, do you think I will continue? Hearing this, Li Shan hurriedly nodded. Yes, you will definitely continue. If you don't kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, they will come for you to get revenge. Only by killing Water Spirit and Fire Spirit will we be able to solve this problem, so you will definitely do it, am I right? Hearing this, Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Shan, you are wrong. In fact, I also want to withdraw. If you withdraw, then I will definitely withdraw and let Water Spirit and Fire Spirit go. Speaking of this, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Li Shan to speak, and continued to speak. Perhaps, in order to prevent Water Spirit and Fire Spirit from taking revenge on me in the future, I might even take Water Spirit and Fire Spirit away to heal them and resolve the hatred between us. What if it's not you? Li Shan, you can't even take care of yourself now. Even if you want to please Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, you can't do it. Maybe under my enlightenment, Water Spirit and Fire Spirit will no longer blame me and focus on finding trouble with you. At that time, you can imagine what kind of trouble you will have. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan's face became quite ugly. If he withdrew and Wu Ketian chose to do so, it might really resolve the hatred between him and Water Spirit. But what about him? He definitely couldn't resolve the hatred between Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. If Water Spirit and Fire Spirit recovered and came for revenge, they would be in the dark while he was in the light. Sooner or later, they would find a chance to kill him and his brother. Thinking of this possibility, Li Shan's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Wu Ketian looked at the cold sweat on Li Shan's forehead and his ashen face. He sneered in his heart and slowly said, Li Shan, you have no way out. If you don't kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit now, you will definitely be killed by them in the future. Li Shan, do you still need me to remind you what to choose? Wu Ketian snorted. Li Shan, think carefully about what to choose. I won't force you, but you have to think clearly. If you can't think clearly, even if you regret it later, it will be useless. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan's brows tightened. He knew that Wu Ketian was right. The most important thing was that he had no choice now. If he chose to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, Wu Ketian would have a hold on him and he would be blackmailed forever. Maybe Wu Ketian wouldn't blackmail him now, but who could guarantee that he wouldn't blackmail him in the future? For the sake of insurance, the best way was to not kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit and not let Wu Ketian have a hold on him. However, if he didn't do it, it meant that he withdrew. Not only would he get nothing, but he would also offend Water Spirit and Fire Spirit. After all, he had beaten the two brothers so badly, they would definitely find a way to get revenge. Once that day came, the trouble wouldn't be small. Looking at Li Shan's hesitation, Wu Ketian suddenly said, Li Shan, such a simple thing, why are you still hesitating? Hurry up and make up your mind to end this trouble. Li Shan turned his head to look at Wu Ketian. He opened his mouth but found that he had nothing to say. Wu Ketian looked at Li Shan and lightly said, Li Shan, I know what you are thinking, and I know what you are worried about. However, you don't have to be afraid. I won't use this matter to blackmail you. You just have to do it. This is a matter between the two of us. We both got benefits, so why would I blackmail you? Moreover, even if I blackmail you, who would believe me? You can also turn around and say that I obtained the equipment. This matter was done by me. In this way, won't we both have something to blackmail each other? No one can do anything to the other. What are you worried about? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Shan's heart suddenly moved. Just like Li Shan said, even if he killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, there was no one here to see. What was there to be afraid of? If Wu Ketian wanted to blackmail him, as long as he didn't admit it and no one saw it, then he wouldn't be found. Thinking of this, Li Shan's frown gradually loosened. If what Wu Ketian said was true, then killing Water Spirit and Fire Spirit wouldn't be a big problem. However, if Wu Ketian wanted him to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, then he would kill Kikiaman's people to end the trouble here. The more Li Shan thought about it, the more it made sense. After a while, Li Shan finally made up his mind. He looked up at Wu Ketian and said with a smile, Wu Ketian, since you said so, then I can only do it. Wu Ketian heard this and smiled. He made a gesture to Li Shan and said, Please. Li Shan took a deep breath. He raised the steel sword in his hand and slowly walked towards Water Spirit. Li Shan came in front of Water Spirit and sighed, Water Spirit, don't blame me. I had no choice. At this point, Li Shan paused and bitterly smiled before continuing, Water Spirit, if I didn't kill you and Fire Spirit, then my fate wouldn't be any better than yours. Water Spirit, please forgive me. After saying this, Li Shan slowly raised the sword in his hand and was about to chop down at Water Spirit. Seeing this, Water Spirit no longer cared about the unbearable pain in her body and hurriedly shouted, "Li Shan Shan, why are you so stupid? If you did it, do you really think that no one would see it?" After saying this, Water Spirit saw Li Shan Shan's sword pause for a moment. She was overjoyed and hurriedly continued, "Li Shan Shan, look at what you have in your hand. If you used this thing to kill me and Fire Spirit, do you think that no one would see it?" Fire Spirit, who was on the side, also said loudly, "Li Mingshan, Wu Ketian is already here. As long as you kill the two of us with your saber, the Heaven's Craftsman sect will definitely know that you did it. At that time, the person the Heaven's Craftsman sect will be looking for will definitely be you, Li Mingshan, and not Wu Ketian, who is watching from the side." Water Spirit saw that Li Shan Shan was slightly moved. She knew that her brother's words had some effect and hurriedly continued, "Li Shan Shan, you should wake up. If you kill the two of us now, I can guarantee that the people from 7 Possibilities sect will let you kill them. When that time comes, you won't be able to avoid it even if you don't want to. In the end, everyone will be killed by you, Li Shan Shan, and I'm afraid you won't be able to get any of the equipment on the note. Not only that, but you will also be threatened by Wu Ketian in the future. You will no longer have a peaceful life. Li Shan Shan, think about it. If you really make a move now, you will fall into Wu Ketian's trap. It will be too late for you to regret." After hearing Water Spirit and Fire Spirit's words, Li Shan Shan didn't have the intention to chop down with his sword anymore. This was because Li Shan Shan suddenly realized that Water Spirit and Fire Spirit's words made sense. He used a sword and Wu Ketian used his fists. The Tiangongmen only needed to check Water Spirit's injury, and they would be able to tell that it was a sword wound. The most important thing was that among everyone present tonight, only the two of them used a sword. No one else used a sword. Once the Tiangongmen investigated carefully, Li Shan Shan was sure that they would be able to determine that Water Spirit and Fire Spirit were injured by his sword. When the time came, the Tiangongmen would know that Water Spirit and Fire Spirit were killed by him. For the dignity of the Tiangongmen, they would definitely make him pay the price. Thinking of this, Li Shan Shan's sword began to tremble slightly. Li Shan Shan was a sword master. He had spent 30 years on the sword. It could be said that as long as he held the sword, it would be as steady as a rock. But now, the sword in his hand was trembling. This showed how excited he was. Water Spirit saw the scene in front of her and was overjoyed. She hurriedly said, "Li Mingshan, believe me, I won't lie to you. If you kill me and Fire Spirit now, then you will really fall into Wu Ketian's trap. At that time, you will be finished." Fire Spirit also hurriedly shouted, "Li Shan Shan, why don't we work together and kill Wu Ketian? That way, he won't be able to threaten you anymore." Before Fire Spirit could finish his words, he was kicked far away by the furious Wu Ketian. Wu Ketian kicked Fire Spirit and turned to look at Water Spirit. He coldly asked, "Water Spirit, do you want to resist?" Hearing Wu Ketian's question, Shui Lingzi suddenly burst into laughter. Chapter 638. Water Spirit sneered, "Wu Ketian, you're going to kill me now. Do you think I'm going to be polite with you?" Speaking up to here, Shui Lingzi paused and turned to look at Li Mingshan before continuing, "Li Mingshan, if we join forces, we can definitely kill him." Before Water Spirit could finish her sentence, she suffered the same fate as Fire Spirit and was kicked far away by Wu Ketian. After Wu Ketian kicked Water Spirit and Fire Spirit, he turned to look at the stunned Li Mingshan and sighed. "Li Mingshan, you can't talk to them. Water Spirit and Fire Spirit are too cunning. As long as you talk to them, they will definitely find all kinds of reasons to destroy our alliance. Li Mingshan, don't hesitate anymore. Water Spirit and Fire Spirit are just talking nonsense. Don't tell me you still don't understand their goal?" At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment, But he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to answer his question and continued to speak. Water Spirit and Fire Spirit saw that you were going to kill them, so they will definitely say some nonsense to attract your attention. They might even destroy our relationship so that they can escape the fate of being killed by you. Don't you understand? Li Mingshan, don't hesitate anymore. Go, there's not much time left. If someone really passes by here, it will be too late for you to regret. At this point, Wu Ketian's heart suddenly moved. He turned to look at Li Shanshan and sneered. Li Shanshan, you've already wasted too much time. Let me tell you, if someone really passes by here, you'll have to take responsibility. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan subconsciously asked, Take responsibility? Why should I take responsibility? Wu Ketian sneered and said, Li Mingshan, if you had killed the Water Spirit and the Fire Spirit as soon as possible, no one would have passed by during this period of time. It would have been such a good opportunity, but because of your hesitation, you missed this opportunity. Let me tell you, in order to not cause unnecessary trouble, from now on, if someone passes by, it will be your fault. No matter who it is, you have to kill them and solve the problem. After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan subconsciously took a step back and said with a trembling voice, Wu Ketian, how can I do this? I can't. Li Mingshan took a few deep breaths and calmed himself down before continuing, If a lot of people come, do I have to kill them all? Wu Ketian nodded and said lightly, You're the one who delayed the time, shouldn't you solve the problem? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan turned to look at Water Spirit and Fire Spirit in the distance. He kept thinking about what the two of them had said. Wu Ketian saw that Li Mingshan was still hesitating and said with some annoyance, Li Mingshan, is it really that hard to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit? Li Mingshan sighed. Looking at the saber in his hand, he said with a wry smile, Wu Ketian, you heard it too. If I use this saber, the people of the Heavens Craftsman faction will definitely know it's me. What should I do if that day really comes? Wu Ketian shook his head. Li Mingshan, you're thinking too much. Do you think you're the only one in the world who uses sabers? Let me tell you, there are a lot of people who use sabers like this. Did the Tiangongmen investigate all the sabers in the world because of the saber wound on Water Spirit's body? Let me tell you, that's impossible. Just do it, no one will know it was you who did it. I can guarantee you that Water Spirit and Fire Spirit were just talking nonsense. They just wanted to trick you. Li Mingshan, listen to me. There's not much time left, hurry up and do it. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan's heart suddenly moved. His rapidly beating heart slowly calmed down. That's right, he wasn't the only one who used the saber. Even the saber wound on Water Spirit's body, who could guarantee that it was done by him? Thinking of this, the hesitation on Li Mingshan's face disappeared and he regained his confidence. Wu Ketian saw this and hurriedly urged, Li Mingshan, don't waste time. We're almost there. Speaking of this, Wu Ketian's tone paused. He was still a bit worried, so he continued, Li Mingshan, remember, don't listen to Water Spirit and Fire Spirit's nonsense. They're all lying to you. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan nodded and walked towards Water Spirit and Fire Spirit with the saber in his hand. Seeing Li Mingshan walking towards them again, Water Spirit's face suddenly turned pale. She didn't wait for Li Mingshan to come closer and shouted, Li Mingshan, you're so stupid. Don't you understand that as long as you make a move, Wu Ketian will have something on you and your life will be over? Hearing Shui Lingzi's words, Li Mingshan sneered, Shui Lingzi, don't waste your energy. Didn't you hear that there are tens of thousands of people using blades? Even if I killed you and Fire Spirit, who would know that it was me, Li Mingshan, who did it? You should just give up and accept your fate. Before Li Mingshan finished his words, Water Spirit hurriedly shouted, Li Mingshan, there are indeed many people who use sabers in this world, but is your saber technique the same as others? What's more, my and Water Spirit's martial arts are not bad. In South County City, There are only a few people who can kill me and Water Spirit. I can guarantee you that as long as I'm injured, the Tiangongmen will find you sooner or later. What's more, if Wu Ketian can testify that you did it, then think about it, can you deny it? Hearing Water Spirit's words, Li Mingshan's footsteps slowed down again. He suddenly realized that Water Spirit's words made sense this time. Water Spirit and Fire Spirit were the Tiangongmen's consecrators. Their martial arts were definitely not low. In South County City, although there were many people who were stronger than them, there weren't many who used sabers. What's more, there was a regional problem. Other saber users had never appeared in this area. Only Li Mingshui and himself had been here. If Wu Ketian testified, then maybe Shadowless would also appear. At that time, even if he had 100 mouths, no one would believe him. Understanding this point, Li Mingshan hesitated again. Li Mingshan felt a headache. He suddenly realized that his brain wasn't enough. It was such a simple logic, but why couldn't he think of it? Since he had killed Water Spirit and Fire Spirit with his saber, as long as the Heavens Craftsman sect investigated the area in detail, they would definitely be able to find traces of his presence here. Moreover, there were quite a number of people from the Godly Saber sect who came this time. The Godly Saber sect had sent so many people here, so there would definitely be traces left in the area. When the time came, the Tiangongmen would only need to ask carefully and they would know that he had been here. Thinking of this, Li Mingshan suddenly gritted his teeth. He suddenly realized that he seemed to have been tricked by Wu Ketian again. Wu Ketian must have known about this situation, so he kept urging him to make a move. Once he really made a move, he was afraid that he would fall into Wu Ketian's trap and would never be able to turn the tables. Wu Ketian, who was behind Li Mingshan, was furious after hearing Shui Spirit's words. However, his face didn't change at all. Wu Ketian slowly came to Li Mingshan's side and sighed. Li Mingshan, I already told you not to talk to Shui Spirit. Shui Spirit is too cunning. As long as you talk to him, you will definitely fall into his trap. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan slowly turned his head and looked at Wu Ketian coldly. Wu Ketian, you've already figured it out, haven't you? You've already figured it out. You naturally know that once the Heavens Craftsman faction wants to investigate this matter, they will definitely find me. That's why you kept urging me to take action, right? Wu Ketian looked at Li Mingshan and sighed again. Li Mingshan, what should I say to make you believe me? At this point, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing. How about you throw the blade away and use your fists to kill Water Spirit and Fire Spirit? That should be fine, right? Hearing Wu Ketian's proposal, Li Mingshan's heart suddenly moved. If he used his fists to kill Shui Spirit and Fire Spirit, he believed that the Tiangongmen wouldn't find out that it was him who did it. Li Mingshan thought for a moment and suddenly his heart moved. He suddenly raised his head and looked at Wu Ketian. He smiled and said, Wu Ketian, I remember that your weapon is a dragon head cane. I will use your dragon head cane to kill Shui Spirit and Fire Spirit. What do you think? After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian froze for a moment and then flew into a rage. He pointed his finger at Li Mingshan and angrily said, Li Mingshan, what do you mean? If you use your dragon head cane to kill Shui Spirit and Fire Spirit, won't others think that it was me who did it? After hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan quickly waved his hand. Wu Ketian, don't worry. Listen to me, your dragon head cane is nothing special. To put it bluntly, it's just a stick. If I use this stick to kill Shui Spirit and Fire Spirit, who can tell what kind of stick I'm using? After hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian flatly refused. No, absolutely no, I won't agree to it. You should use your blade. Li Mingshan suddenly sneered. Wu Ketian, you want me to use my blade? What do you mean? Could it be that you're really like what Shui Lingzi said, wanting to grab hold of my weakness and then use this opportunity to blackmail me? Wu Ketian angrily said, Li Mingshan, don't talk nonsense. When did I say that I want to blackmail you? Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian's tone paused for a moment, but then, he didn't wait for Li Mingshan to answer his question and continued. Li Mingshan, you can use your blade or your fist, but I won't agree to you using my dragon head cane to kill Shui spirit and fire spirit. Li Mingshan shook his head. Wu Ketian, why do you have to do this? It's just a stick. Even if I use this stick to kill Shui spirit and fire spirit, no one will know that it was your dragon head cane that killed them. Wu Ketian shook his head. No, I won't allow it. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian rolled his eyes. After a while, his heart suddenly moved and he immediately had an idea. He quickly looked up at Li Mingshan and said with a smile, Li Mingshan, you don't have to worry. This time, I really want to cooperate with you. Think about it, how precious is level 20 equipment? If we succeed this time, then each of us will get 3 pieces of level 20 equipment. How great of a benefit is that? It's precisely because of this that I don't mind sharing half of it with you. But you don't trust me and believe Shui spirit and fire spirit's nonsense. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian paused for a moment before continuing, Li Mingshan, in order to make you believe me, how about this? I'll write down a receipt to prove that this matter was done by the two of us. Then, I'll give this receipt to you for safekeeping. When the time comes, if I really want to blackmail you, then you'll naturally have this receipt to expose yourself. Speaking up to here, Wu Ketian looked at Li Mingshan with bright eyes and asked with a smile, Li Mingshan, is my sincerity enough this time? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan thought for a moment. He was afraid that he would fall into Wu Ketian's trap again. But Li Mingshan thought about the possibilities and realized that as long as the receipt was in his hands, not only would Wu Ketian not blackmail him, he would also be able to blackmail Wu Ketian. Thinking up to here, Li Mingshan quickly looked up at Wu Ketian and nodded with a smile. Wu Ketian, if you're willing to write down a receipt and give it to me for safekeeping, then I'll believe you. But I hope you'll really do it. Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian nodded and said with a smile, Li Mingshan, from the beginning, you didn't believe in my sincerity. I'll tell you now. After you were injured by me, you thought it through and decided to sincerely cooperate with you to solve this matter. Li Mingshan, think about it. As long as we solve this matter, each of us will be able to get 3 pieces of level 20 equipment. How wonderful would that be? These are 3 pieces of level 20 equipment. Even if we don't wear them ourselves, I'm sure we can sell them for a good price at the auction house. Li Mingshan, don't you think so? Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan hurriedly nodded. Wu Ketian, you're right. If we want to buy a piece of level 20 equipment from the auction house, we'll have to spend a lot of money. Hearing Li Mingshan's words, Wu Ketian smiled and nodded. You see, isn't this settled? We've already received so many benefits, so we should be satisfied. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan thought of the 3 pieces of level 20 equipment he was about to obtain. He nodded with satisfaction and said with a smile, Wu Ketian, you're right. Wu Ketian, you're right. Even if we only obtained 1 piece of level 20 equipment, this trip would not have been in vain. Moreover, each of us obtained 3 pieces of level 20 equipment. This has far exceeded our expectations. We should be content. Wu Ketian nodded. Li Mingshan, it's good that you understand. Then, hurry up and take action. We don't have much time left. If we don't take action now and someone else comes along the way, we'll be in even bigger trouble. Hearing Wu Ketian's words, Li Mingshan was stunned for a moment. Then, he hurriedly asked, You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.